Chapter 54-29. Gu Fei had returned to the ancestral land of the Heavenly Clan. At this time, he was not willing to return. It was as if he had been forced to return. The Heavenly Clansmen in the ancestral grounds were stunned. They had no idea what was going on. However, when they saw the limitless Sword Master, they were terrified to the extreme. They didn't dare to resist or stop Shui Yao and the others. The Heavenly Clansmen had no idea what was going on. Only the 12 ancient emperors could guess what was going on. At this moment, an extremely powerful wave of Yuan Qi surged out of the little void world. The 12 ancient emperors were terrified. Even the 12 ancient emperors could not withstand this aura. Soon, the 12 ancient emperors retreated. Retreat, retreat! Retreat from the ancestral grounds! The 12 ancient emperors split up and began to retreat. The ancestral grounds of the heavenly race were very dangerous. If the 12 ancient emperors could not withstand the aura of the teleportation formation, the others would not be able to. If they remained in the Sky Clan's ancestral land, even the 12 ancient emperors would die. Very quickly, all the Tian Clan clansmen in the Tian Clan ancestral land evacuated from the ancestral land. They retreated to a stronghold hundreds of thousands of miles away. The Heavenly Clansmen had prepared a backup plan. Meanwhile, in the little void world of the ancestral grounds, Sacred Master Void Sky's clone was leading everything. Soon, the teleportation formation was fully operational. Buzz! The void trembled and a beam of light shot out of the teleportation formation. It broke through the void and rushed into the endless void. At this moment, the Limitless Demon Master, the Snow Demon, and the Limitless Sword Master were all pouring limitless power into the teleportation formation. With 3 limitless primes working together, even the most powerful teleportation formation could be activated. However, the beam of light that shot out of the teleportation formation began to tremble. It's like this again, Sacred Master Void Sky's clone said through gritted teeth. Little fellow, it's your turn. Sacred Master Void Sky's clone said to Gu Fei, who was outside the teleportation formation. Gu Fei was both shocked and furious. These fellows were obviously trying to force him to his death. How preposterous! Do you want a life and death struggle? Gu Fei gritted his teeth, and a powerful Yuan Qi fluctuation erupted from his body. I advise you not to do anything stupid. Sacred Lord Void Sky's incarnation stared at Gu Fei and said with a solemn expression. It's fine if you want me to go up on stage, but you have to promise me one thing. Gu Fei thought for a moment, and suddenly said, What is it? Tell me. Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone said impatiently. Regardless of whether I'm alive or dead, you can't touch my people, let alone kill them. If you agree, I'll help you. Otherwise, we'll have a good fight. Gu Fei stared at Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone and said coldly, You still dare to bargain? The Limitless Demon Lord sneered. TCH, why wouldn't I dare? This isn't Zenith Imperial City. Gu Fei said. His meaning was very clear. In this place, he could attack without any scruples. All right, I agree. Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone agreed very straightforwardly. He didn't put Gu Fei's subordinates in his eyes at all and wouldn't attack them. However, the Limitless Demon Lord was different. He was a ruthless person who could do anything. Snow Demon also agreed, and the Limitless Sword Master also nodded his head. Only the Limitless Demon Lord was still hesitating. Old demon, what are you doing? Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone shouted at the Limitless Demon Lord impatiently. Preposterous! The Limitless Demon Lord roared in anger. Do you agree or not? Just say it. Gu Fei yelled at the Limitless Demon Lord. I agree. Is that enough? The Limitless Demon Lord said angrily. With his identity, he couldn't go back on his word once he agreed. If he did, Sacred Lord Void Sky and the others definitely wouldn't let him off. The Limitless Demon Lord was very wary of Sacred Master Void Sky's clone. If there was anyone in the Void Realm that could kill him, it would be Sacred Master Void Sky's clone. Very good. Gu Fei nodded his head in satisfaction and walked towards the teleportation array. He was extremely excited. If he could enter the legendary Supreme Great World, it would be a great fortune for him. He went up to the teleportation formation platform and walked into the light pillar on the teleportation formation platform. Swish! Gu Fei's figure disappeared from the teleportation array. I hope he succeeds. Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone stared at the pillar of light and murmured to himself. Those people before him all failed. Can this little fella succeed? The limitless demon lord laughed coldly. Old demon, can you stop talking? Snow Demon said angrily. Humph humph. The limitless demon lord laughed coldly and didn't say anything else. They were all staring at the pillar of light on the teleportation array and carefully sensing the changes in it. At this moment, Gu Fei was moving quickly in the light pillar as though he was riding on a cloud. However, he couldn't sense that he was moving at all. The surroundings were extremely quiet. After an unknown period of time, boom! With a loud bang, he crashed into something. His entire body exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist. It's over. The limitless demon lord was very disappointed in the teleportation hall of the empty beginning small world. It's over just like that. Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone and the others were also depressed. It was the same the previous few times. The life aura on the pillar of light on the teleportation array had disappeared. In other words, Gu Fei was dead. Both his body and soul had been destroyed. At this moment, at the end of the pillar of light, a ball of divine light exploded and illuminated the entire dark void. An impassable boundary wall appeared in the void. The light beam collided with the boundary wall and was blocked by it. Gu Fei also crashed into the wall. Then, his entire body exploded and turned into a bloody mist. The stronger the wall, the stronger the law of heaven and earth of the great world. The difficulty of breaking through the wall and entering the great world would increase. I thought that the little fellow would at least be able to hold on for a while. Who would have thought that he would be finished so quickly? The limitless demon lord didn't rejoice in Gu Fei's misfortune. After all, Gu Fei's failure was also their failure. There was nothing to be happy about. After plotting for so long, it still ended in failure. This made Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone and the others extremely unhappy. However, was Gu Fei really dead? At this moment, Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone and the others started to stop pouring energy into the super ancient array. The doubt patterns on the ancient array gradually disappeared and re-entered the ancient array. The entire ancient teleportation array gradually stopped operating. The pillar of light that had rushed out of the teleportation array also gradually dissipated into the void and eventually disappeared completely. The void that had been pierced by the pillar of light was quickly repaired by the heaven and earth power of the empty beginning small world. Very soon, the void was completely repaired. This way, no matter how strong Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone and the other spiritual force was, they wouldn't be able to sense Gu Fei's existence. Furthermore, in their opinion, Gu Fei was already dead. This wasn't the first time they had done something like this. In fact, they had forced others to do the same thing before. However, all of them had failed. Furthermore, the consequence of failure was the destruction of both their body and soul. At this moment, outside the boundary of the limitless realm, a mass of blood mist floated quietly in the primal chaos void. Even the terrifying chaotic power was unable to destroy this blood mist. However, there wasn't a single trace of vitality coming from this blood mist. Another one is here to die! An extremely old voice suddenly sounded in the primal chaos void. Then, a figure appeared in front of the blood mist and stared at it. This was an old man, a skinny old man. This old man was bare-chested and had sparse hair. His face was full of wrinkles and his fingernails were very long and very sharp. The old man just stood in the void, looking very weak. However, the surrounding chaotic power actually couldn't get close to him. What the hell? At this moment, the old man who was staring at the blood mist looked as if he had seen a ghost. He was really scared out of his wits. With a swoosh, the old man retreated thousands of miles away. At this moment, the blood mist floating in the void gradually began to exude vitality. Furthermore, this vitality was gradually becoming stronger. The blood mist began to emit boundless blood-colored light, illuminating the entire primal chaos void nearby. What's going on? He managed to survive even that? After retreating thousands of miles away, the mysterious old man stared at the blood mist. Soon, a figure appeared in the blood mist. Then, the blood mist began to weaken as the powerful vitality was devoured and absorbed by the figure. Finally, a figure appeared in the primal chaos void. This person was none other than Gu Fei. Gu Fei wouldn't die so easily. He had grasped the 9 secrets of Immortal Dao's Ascension secret technique. Even if his spirit was scattered, he could still reassemble it and reconstruct his physical body, returning to his peak state. That collision just now would have killed Gu Fei in both body and spirit, even if he was an unparalleled expert. However, he had used the Ascension secret technique in advance. Therefore, while Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone thought that Gu Fei was dead for sure, he hadn't actually died yet. However, that collision was too vicious. Gu Fei couldn't recover in a short time. Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone thought that Gu Fei was finished. Who would have thought that Gu Fei wasn't dead? He had reassembled his spirit, reconstructed his martial body, and came back to life. It's a kid? The mysterious old man was both surprised and delighted to see Gu Fei. This kid didn't die. He wouldn't be so lonely now. The mysterious old man was about to go crazy after being trapped in the primal chaos for countless years. After Gu Fei reconstructed his martial body, he immediately sensed the mysterious old man's existence. Swoosh! The void in front of Gu Fei suddenly shook. Then, the mysterious old man actually appeared in front of Gu Fei. You! Gu Fei stared at the mysterious old man in shock. At the same time, the mysterious old man also looked at Gu Fei in shock. Chapter 54:30. Who are you? Who are you? Gu Fei and the mysterious elder spoke at the same time. Where are you from? Void Realm? The mysterious elder was obviously more eager to know Gu Fei's background. You know about the Void Realm? Gu Fei was shocked when he heard this. Could it be that this old man also came from the Void Realm? Anyone who could appear here was definitely not an ordinary person. Gu Fei did not need to ask to know that this old man, who seemed extremely thin and weak, definitely had a great background. How come I don't know about the Void Realm? Are you really a little fellow from the Void Realm? The mysterious elder asked excitedly. Gu Fei nodded. He never would have thought that he would be able to leave the Void Realm in such a manner. Sacred Lord Void Sky's incarnation, this daddy will remember this debt. Being forced to step onto the teleportation array by those fellows made Gu Fei very unhappy. If he was unhappy, the consequences would be severe. Then tell me, who else is in the Void Realm? Are the things I left behind still there? The mysterious elder asked anxiously. The things you left behind? Who are you? Gu Fei couldn't help but frown. I haven't introduced myself. I am Void Sky, the elder said. What? When Gu Fei heard this, he was extremely shocked. This emaciated and seemingly extremely weak old man was actually the legendary sacred master Su Tian who had disappeared for countless years. One had to know that there was only one person called Void Sky in the Void Realm, Sacred Lord Void Sky. You are Sacred Lord Void Sky? Gu Fei looked at the mysterious elder as if he was looking at a monster. What Sacred Lord? I am Void Sky, and Void Sky is me, the elder said impatiently. He wanted to know about the situation in the Void Realm. This little one greets Senior. Gu Fei hurriedly bowed to this old man. It was Sacred Lord Void Sky. He actually met a legendary super expert in the primal chaos void. Sacred Master Void Sky was actually trapped in the primal chaos void. However, no one knew how he got trapped. All right, quickly tell me about the Void Realm. Sacred Lord Void Sky waved her hand and said. Gu Fei thought for a while and began to speak. After a while, Gu Fei stopped. How preposterous! Was it my incarnation that forced you onto the platform? Sacred Lord Void Sky was obviously angry. Back then, he had left an incarnation in the Void Realm and stepped onto the teleportation array in order to return to the Infinite Realm. However, the barrier of the Everlasting Realm was just too strong. Even in existence like Sacred Lord Void Sky was unable to break through the barrier and return to the Everlasting Realm. There was no way forward, and there was no way back. Sacred Lord Void Sky was trapped in the Primal Chaos Void for countless years. He was the only person in the Primal Chaos Void, and he was about to go crazy. Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone and the Limitless Demon Lord had actually sent some powerful lifeforms into the Primal Chaos Void, but all of them had died without exception. But now, Gu Fei had survived. They've gone too far. Sacred Lord Void Sky seemed to be very angry. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. The previous few times, the people that had been sent over had their bodies and souls destroyed. This was simply forcing people to come and die. But now, this little fellow actually didn't die. He actually survived. This was simply a miracle. It wasn't a coincidence that Sacred Lord Void Sky appeared here. This was because he was the first person to step onto the platform and the first person to reach the barrier of the Everlasting Realm. However, he was unable to return to the limitless realm that he longed for, even though he was separated by a realm wall. "Let's go, follow me," Sacred Lord Void Sky said as he led the way. Very soon, Sacred Lord Void Sky brought Gu Fei to a large mountain. This was a chaotic mountain. It was extremely huge, and the entire mountain was made of chaotic divine metal. With so much chaotic divine metal, who knew how many peerless Tao weapons could be forged? Seeing such a large mountain of chaotic divine metal, even Gu Fei's eyes were slightly red. After reaching the peak of this sacred mountain, Gu Fei actually saw a large hall. Sacred Lord Void Sky had actually built a large hall at the peak of this sacred mountain. After entering the large hall, Gu Fei's eyes lit up. There was actually another world here. After entering the large hall, it was actually a world full of vitality. This surprised Gu Fei. Outside was a large hall, and inside was a world of its own. This Sacred Lord Void Sky really knew how to play. Gu Fei released his spiritual force, and his spiritual force instantly enveloped the entire world of its own. He was shocked to discover that Sacred Lord Void Sky's world of its own was actually very big. Even though it wasn't as big as the Void Realm, it was definitely as big as half of the Void Realm. In the sky of this world of its own, there was actually a dazzling sky palace floating in the air. Gu Fei was speechless. Sacred Lord Void Sky's pretentiousness was truly superb. He looked like an extremely skinny old man, but who would have thought that this fellow would live in such a good place? Wasn't this like a beggar living in a sky palace? However, the only thing that surprised Gu Fei was that along the way, he actually didn't see any living beings. Let alone humans, he didn't even see any living beings. In this entire world of its own, there seemed to be only one person, and that was Sacred Lord Void Sky. It was truly hard to imagine that Sacred Lord Void Sky had lived here alone for countless years without going crazy. If it was him, he probably wouldn't be able to endure such a seemingly endless and lonely life. There wasn't a single person in this sky palace either. Actually, Sacred Lord Void Sky was lucky to have survived. However, he wasn't as lucky as Gu Fei. Everything he owned had been destroyed, and even his inner world had collapsed. This world of its own was a new world that he had created. Naturally, there was nothing in this newly created world of its own. The sky palace in the sky was also something that Sacred Lord Void Sky had created when he was bored. He was bored to the extreme. Sacred Lord Void Sky hunted a few wild beasts and roasted them on a grill. He then roasted the meat on the plaza of this sky palace to entertain Gu Fei. Gu Fei could tell that Sacred Lord Void Sky was truly happy. Actually, Sacred Lord Void Sky was truly happy. This was because Gu Fei was the first human that he had seen in countless years. Gu Fei's inner world hadn't been destroyed, and he directly took out some good wine from it. He was drinking wine and eating meat with Sacred Lord Void Sky. "Senior, is the realm barrier of the limitless realm really that hard to break?" Gu Fei finally couldn't help but ask. Sigh, just look at me and you will know. Sacred Lord Void Sky said helplessly. The realm barrier of the limitless realm was truly very hard to break. Furthermore, when Sacred Lord Void Sky arrived at the realm barrier, he was already extremely weak. It was even more impossible for him to break the realm barrier. Sacred Lord Void Sky couldn't turn back, so he was trapped in the primal chaos void. This time, he was trapped for countless years. A single realm barrier was actually able to stop someone as amazing as Sacred Lord Void Sky. It looked like he would have to go and take a look. After eating and drinking his fill, Gu Fei asked Sacred Lord Void Sky to bring him to where the realm barrier was. Sacred Lord Void Sky was naturally very willing. If she teamed up with Gu Fei, they might be able to break the realm barrier and enter the limitless realm. Returning to the limitless realm was Sacred Lord Void Sky's obsession. This is the realm barrier of the limitless realm? When Gu Fei saw this wave-like thing in front of him, he was slightly dumbfounded. This wave-like thing blocked the primal chaos aura outside. If the primal chaos aura couldn't enter the limitless realm, then Gu Fei and company naturally couldn't enter either. Bam! Gu Fei threw a punch and smashed it on the boundary wall that looked like a water ripple. Gu Fei was taken aback. When he punched the boundary wall, it didn't budge in the slightest. Roar! Gu Fei attacked with all his might, and the powerful power of the limitless realm erupted from his fist. Another muffled sound. This time, a few ripples finally appeared on the realm barrier. What? Gu Fei was in disbelief. His punch with all his strength only caused a few ripples on the realm barrier? This realm barrier was too sturdy. Sigh, it still doesn't work. Sacred Lord Void Sky sighed. It seemed that even if the two of them teamed up, they still wouldn't be able to break through the realm barrier. Wouldn't that mean that they would be trapped in the void forever? After all, Gu Fei couldn't return either. The teleportation formation in the Void Heavenly Clan's ancestral ground required a huge amount of power to operate. Only Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone could operate the teleportation formation, and Gu Fei would be able to find the location of the teleportation formation. However, no one knew when Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone would operate the teleportation formation again. That was why Gu Fei couldn't return. That was also why Sacred Lord Void Sky couldn't return either. Sacred Lord Void Sky had constructed another teleportation formation. As long as the two teleportation formations resonated with each other, they would be able to return to the Void Realm. Otherwise, they would really be trapped here forever. Let's go back first, Sacred Lord Void Sky said to Gu Fei. All right. Gu Fei nodded. Under Sacred Lord Void Sky's guidance, he returned to the Sacred Mountain. For the next few days, Gu Fei wandered around the realm barrier of the Void Realm. He was thinking about how to break through the realm barrier. The realm barrier of the limitless realm was truly powerful. However, Gu Fei wasn't someone to be trifled with. He activated a mysterious technique and used the Returning Truth secret technique. This secret technique could directly refine all the origin chi in the world into his own origin chi. Gu Fei stretched out his right hand and pressed it against the realm barrier. He wanted to forcefully refine a hole in the realm barrier. However, what made Gu Fei depressed was that this realm barrier was simply too monstrous. The power of the 9 secrets of the immortal path couldn't be used on this realm barrier. In this way, Gu Fei was at a loss of what to do. Little fella, let's take our time to think about this. Sacred Lord Void Sky's voice sounded from behind Gu Fei. Gu Fei quickly turned around and saw that Sacred Master Void Sky was already standing behind him without him even realizing it. Take our time to think about this? Could it be that Senior still has a backup plan? Gu Fei's eyes lit up when he heard this. If that was really the case, then he would have a chance to leave this ghastly place. Gu Fei didn't want to be trapped here either. What backup plan? Sacred Lord Void Sky asked in confusion. No way! Chapter 5431. Gu Fei had actually met Sacred Lord Void Sky outside the barrier of the limitless realm. This shocked him to the extreme. Who would have thought that they would meet the former ruler of the Void Realm outside the barrier of the limitless realm? Sacred Lord Void Sky was a legend. No one would have thought that the former ruler of the Void Realm had become a skinny old man. Gu Fei originally thought that Sacred Lord Void Sky was an otherworldly expert. This was especially so after seeing Sacred Lord Void Sky's clone, which further solidified his opinion. Who would have thought that Sacred Lord Void Sky had become an old man? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Gu Fei wouldn't have believed that this old man was Sacred Lord Void Sky. Both Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Void Sky were at their wits' end in the inner world that Sacred Lord Void Sky had created. This was because the barrier of the limitless realm was simply too sturdy. Even Gu Fei wasn't able to move the barrier of the limitless realm. If the barrier of the limitless realm was so easy to break, would I still be in this damn place? Sacred Lord Void Sky said helplessly. He had been here for countless years, and he was extremely bored. If it was anyone else, they would have gone crazy already. However, Sacred Lord Void Sky wasn't a normal person. Senior, if you have any backup plans, just tell me, Gu Fei said with a smile. Sacred Lord Void Sky was a true super ancient. He had been around for countless times longer than Gu Fei. To Sacred Lord Void Sky, Gu Fei was just a little fellow. What backup plans can I have? Sacred Lord Void Sky shrugged his shoulders and still had a helpless expression. He wanted to break the barrier of the limitless realm so badly that he was about to go crazy. However, even he, the Void Realm's Lord, couldn't do anything about the barrier of the limitless realm. Now that Gu Fei was here, there might be hope. Who do you think you are? How could you not have any backup plans? Gu Fei wouldn't believe that Sacred Lord Void Sky really didn't have any backup plans. Sigh, I really didn't. Sacred Lord Void Sky sighed. Gu Fei was speechless. It seemed like he wouldn't be able to get anything out of Sacred Lord Void Sky. It was obvious that Sacred Lord Void Sky did not trust Gu Fei that much. After all, they had only just met. Sacred Lord Void Sky was wary of Gu Fei, but Gu Fei didn't completely trust Sacred Lord Void Sky. In reality, Gu Fei was still suspicious of Sacred Lord Void Sky's identity. Did he really think that he was Sacred Lord Void Sky just because he said he was? Gu Fei wasn't stupid enough to trust this old man the moment they met. He temporarily stayed at Sacred Master Void Sky's place. After all, they had a common goal, which was to break through the realm barrier of the limitless realm. For the next few days, Sacred Master Void Sky was nowhere to be seen. No one knew what she was busy with, but Gu Fei did not care about this. He needed to recover his cultivation to its peak state first. Previously, he had been forced to step onto the teleportation array by Sacred Master Void Sky's clone. Then, he had been teleported at extreme speed, and he had crashed into the boundary wall of the limitless realm. Gu Fei's crash was too ruthless. His body and soul were destroyed in an instant. If it was anyone else, they would have died. Fortunately, Gu Fei had already activated the Heaven Ascension secret technique the moment he stepped onto the teleportation array. If he hadn't activated the Heaven Ascension secret technique beforehand, he would have died. Reality proved that Gu Fei's worries were correct. However, even though he had activated the Heaven Ascension secret technique beforehand, Gu Fei wasn't completely unscathed. He had more or less suffered from the impact. The Spirit Chi in Sacred Lord Void Sky's Heaven Ascension secret technique was still sufficient, so Gu Fei decided to cultivate in seclusion for a while. While Gu Fei was cultivating in seclusion, many things happened in the Void Realm. First, Gu Fei's forces started to be suppressed. Eastern Wilderness, Dongyang City, Long Xiaozhou's base camp. At this time, the Eastern Wilderness demon clans that had originally submitted to Gu Fei rebelled. The demon clans split into 4 groups and attacked Dongyang City. The originally peaceful Eastern Wilderness was once again engulfed in the flames of war. Go and get Supreme Flame! Long Xiao roared angrily in the main hall of Dongyang City's City Lord residence. Report, Lord Supreme Flame, is missing! Very soon, someone came to report. What? All the experts in the main hall were dumbfounded. What was going on? Lord Supreme Flame had disappeared? One had to know that they could conquer Eastern Wilderness so quickly because Lord Supreme Flame was in Dongyang City. At this time, Gu Fei's direct subordinates all felt that something was wrong. Long Xiaozhou had brought Gu Fei's direct subordinates to Eastern Wilderness, and they had made many contributions. But now, the Wuji fire spirit had disappeared. What was going on? No one knew what was going on. Even Long Xiao was dumbfounded. How is this possible? Long Xiao was really panicking. This was not good. Your Highness, why don't we retreat? Red-browed Eagle King said. Retreat? Long Xiao frowned. Eastern Wilderness was a newly conquered place after all, and there were too many uncertain factors. If they left now, they might be able to retreat unscathed. However, once the demon army arrived, it would not be so easy for them to leave Eastern Wilderness. Supreme Flame, where are you? Long Xiao directly crushed a jade talisman. However, the Wuji fire spirit did not respond to Long Xiao at all. What exactly happened? Long Xiao was extremely anxious, but on the surface, he was still calm. Retreat! Long Xiao decisively ordered a retreat. Soon, the teleportation formation platform of Dongyang City lit up. Gu Fei's direct subordinates immediately withdrew from Eastern Wilderness, and so did the sorcerer tribe. They had no choice but to retreat. When the demon army arrived at Dongyang City, all they saw was an empty city. This made the demon emperors of the demon army all dumbfounded. Long Xiao, this little girl is really something. Old Ancestor Fire Qilin couldn't help but look at Long Xiaozhou in a new light. Just as Long Xiaozhou led his people away from the Eastern Wilderness, outside the Central Heaven City, the Devil Clan's army attacked again. This time, the Devil Clan's army was even more ferocious than before. The army of demons surrounded the entire Heaven capital again. Old demon, what is the meaning of this? Sacred Lord Void Sky's incarnation immediately found the Limitless Demon Lord. Don't you know what I mean? The Limitless Demon Lord sneered. We all promised Gu Fei that we would not attack his people. You dare to go back on your promise? Sacred Lord Void Sky's incarnation said angrily. Which eye of yours saw me attack Gu Fei's people? The Limitless Demon Lord said disapprovingly. You! Sacred Lord Void Sky's incarnation was really angered. Without the Limitless Demon Lord's permission, would the 4 demon sovereigns dare to attack Heaven Capital? And the Eastern Wilderness demon race? Wasn't it all because of the Limitless Demon Lord that they dared to attack Long Xiaozhou? Isn't that so? I didn't even see the shadows of Gu Fei's people. The Limitless Demon Lord said shamelessly. Chapter 5432. The Limitless Demon Lord was really shameless. He had promised Gu Fei that he wouldn't attack his subordinates, but he didn't guarantee that his subordinates wouldn't attack Gu Fei's subordinates. Therefore, when Sacred Lord Su Tian's clone came, the Limitless Demon Lord acted shamelessly. He wasn't wrong, and he didn't break his promise. He really didn't attack Gu Fei's subordinates. It was just his subordinates that attacked. Although Sacred Lord Su Tian's clone was furious, he really couldn't do anything to the Limitless Demon Lord because the Limitless Demon Lord didn't break his promise. However, this was also the reason why the Limitless Demon Lord was shameless. Don't go overboard. Sacred Lord Su Tian's clone left a sentence and turned to leave. Che, as long as I don't do it myself, what can you do to me? The Limitless Demon Lord laughed coldly. Sacred Lord Su Tian's clone was very strong, but if he wanted to attack the Limitless Demon Lord, he needed to find a proper reason. Otherwise, how could he convince others? Sacred Lord Su Tian's clone thought of himself as the supreme ruler. Of course, his original body was indeed the supreme ruler of the Void Realm. Long Xiaozhou couldn't understand why the everlasting fire spirit had disappeared. One had to know that Supreme Flame was an unparalleled existence at the Infinite Prime Realm. How could such a powerful existence suddenly disappear? Where did the everlasting fire spirit go? After Sacred Lord Su Tian's clone left, a figure walked out from behind the Limitless Demon Lord. This person was the everlasting fire spirit. A wise man submits to circumstances. You're very smart. The limitless demon lord laughed. It's my honor to be able to work for Senior. The everlasting fire spirit also laughed. No one would have thought that the everlasting fire spirit would submit to the limitless demon lord. However, the limitless demon lord also knew that the everlasting fire spirit submitted to him for a reason. After all, Gu Fei was dead, and the everlasting fire spirit was the weakest among the infinite primes. Even if he didn't submit to the limitless demon lord, he would still rely on other infinite primes to protect himself. However, what the limitless demon lord didn't know was that since the limitless fire spirit was still alive, it meant that Gu Fei was also alive. The limitless fire spirit didn't tell him the secret. The news of Gu Fei dying was also sealed by Sacred Lord Void Sky's incarnation, and no one was allowed to spread it. However, the news of Gu Fei's disappearance could not be hidden. Gu Fei's forces began to withdraw to the south. The army of demons and the army of Eastern Wilderness Demon Clan wanted to attack the south directly and uproot Gu Fei's forces. However, just as they were about to march into the south, the snow demons appeared. Therefore, the demons and the Eastern Wilderness Demon race had no choice but to retreat. This crazy woman! The limitless demon lord was really depressed. Who would have thought that the snow demon would make a move? With the snow demon guarding the southern barbarians, who would dare to have any ideas about the southern barbarians? Thus, the southern wilderness became the world of the snow demons. Of course, the snow demon only showed her face in the southern barbarians. She did not stay in the southern barbarians but returned to her culmination Snow Mountain. The limitless demon lord naturally didn't want to fight to the death with the snow demon, so he could only give up looking for trouble with Gu Fei's subordinates. At this time, near the boundary wall of the limitless realm, Gu Fei was still in seclusion in the inner world of Sacred Lord Void Sky. He didn't know that his disciple had experienced a life and death crisis. If it weren't for the snow demon, his disciples in the void realm would have been wiped out by the snow demon. After an unknown period of time, Gu Fei finally woke up from his meditation. I say, you're too ruthless! The moment Gu Fei opened his eyes, he saw an old face. Damn! Gu Fei jumped in fright. This Sacred Lord Void Sky was truly elusive. His old face was about to stick to Gu Fei's face. What shocked Gu Fei was that this guy was already so close to him, but he didn't notice his existence at all. It seemed that this Sacred Lord Void Sky wasn't as simple as he looked on the surface. You little brat, look at what you've done to my place! The disheveled old man shouted at Gu Fei. What? Gu Fei quickly looked around and saw that the flowers and trees had all withered. The heaven and earth's spiritual energy in the entire world was extremely thin. I'm sorry! Gu Fei said awkwardly. All the vitality in Sacred Lord Void Sky's inner world was almost sucked dry by him. The entire world lacked vitality. Needless to say, the flowers and trees in other parts of the inner world had also withered. You want to forget it just because you're sorry? The disheveled old man was unhappy. Sai, why don't I help you restore the vitality in your inner world? Gu Fei scratched his head and said. Sure. The old man nodded. Gu Fei could only move the divine spring of life from his inner world into the old man's inner world. You actually have such a good thing? Seeing that Gu Fei had actually taken out a divine spring of life from his inner world, he was slightly moved. This was not something that could be obtained easily. In fact, because the limitless realm had already developed to the extreme, things like the divine spring of life had disappeared a long time ago. Sacred Lord Void Sky naturally hadn't seen the divine spring of life before. However, the limitless realm also had legends about the divine spring of life. Alright, it won't take long for the vitality in your inner world to recover, Gu Fei said. That's more like it. The old man nodded his head in satisfaction. At this moment, Gu Fei's cultivation had also recovered to its peak. Senior, why don't we go to the world wall and try again? Gu Fei suddenly said. You still haven't given up? Sacred Lord Void Sky looked at Gu Fei in surprise. Let's team up and try. We might be able to break through the world wall. Gu Fei was very confident. What? Sacred Lord Void Sky was very tempted when she saw how confident Gu Fei was. Gu Fei was right. They hadn't teamed up to try breaking through the world yet, so they might be able to succeed. However, the chances of success were still very small. However, it was worth a try. Alright, then let's team up and try. Sacred Lord Void Sky patted Gu Fei's shoulder and said, "Let's go!" Gu Fei took the lead and charged out of Sacred Lord Void Sky's inner world. Sacred Lord Void Sky thought for a moment and chased after him. Soon, they arrived at the boundary wall again. The so-called boundary wall was just a layer of energy wall. However, it was not an easy task to break through this wall. This was especially true for a perfect world like the Limitless Realm. Even Sacred Lord Void Sky wasn't able to break through the world wall of the Limitless Realm. "What should we do?" Sacred Lord Void Sky asked. "Just do it." Gu Fei reached out with both hands and pressed them against the world wall. He circulated the returning truth's secret art with all his might. He wanted to break through the world wall. Eh? Sacred Lord Void Sky's eyes lit up when she saw this. The world wall obviously couldn't be broken, but the surrounding aura of primordial chaos was directly turned into heaven and earth's spiritual energy. Roar! Gu Fei roared as he slowly increased his returning truth power. Powerful yuan-chi ripples spread from his body, and the surrounding aura of primordial chaos was all turned into heaven and earth's spiritual energy and absorbed by him. This is possible? Sacred Lord Void Sky's eyes widened when she saw this. Even the yuan-chi on her body felt like it was being dissolved. The power of this little fellow's secret art was too heaven-defying. What a mysterious little fellow! Sacred Lord Void Sky couldn't help but be moved by the secret art that Gu Fei displayed. "Why aren't you helping me out?" Gu Fei roared at Sacred Lord Void Sky. "Alright, let's give it a try." Sacred Lord Void Sky gritted her teeth and appeared behind Gu Fei in a flash. He didn't hesitate and pressed his hands on Gu Fei's back. In the next instant, the vast boundless yuan-chi in his body surged into Gu Fei's body. Buzz! The void trembled. The returning truth power spread out in all directions with Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Void Sky at the center. Countless auras of primordial chaos dissipated in the void. Ripples that could be seen with the naked eye appeared on the barrier in front of Gu Fei, rippling like waves on the surface of water. Eh? Sacred Lord Void Sky was both surprised and happy when she saw this. They had finally shaken the world wall. Gu Fei's hands had already sunk into the world wall. "It's still not enough!" Gu Fei roared. Sacred Lord Void Sky's yuan-chi was so vast that it almost caused his martial physique to explode. However, it was still not enough. It wasn't enough to break through the world wall. "Alright, if you can't take it, just say it." Sacred Lord Void Sky saw hope and was extremely excited. He started to pour all his yuan-chi into Gu Fei's body. Ancient and profound Tao patterns appeared on his body. At this time, Sacred Lord Void Sky's appearance was also changing. His skinny body actually became stronger. His hair also turned white. His hair was growing, and his appearance was changing. In just a few seconds, the old man had turned into a strong middle-aged man. Peak of boundless power? Gu Fei finally sensed Sacred Lord Void Sky's true cultivation. This guy hit it really well. He was actually a peak of boundless power. Peak of boundless power. This was an existence that could crush Gu Fei. Not to mention Gu Fei, even if all the boundless power experts in the void world attacked together, they wouldn't be a match for this guy. An unimaginably domineering aura exploded from Sacred Lord Void Sky's body. Ah! Gu Fei roared incessantly. His martial body swelled up like a rubber ball as blood streaks appeared on his body one after another. The power that the boundless demon lord poured into his body was too strong. Even his martial body almost couldn't take it. "Open it for me!" Gu Fei circulated the returning truth's secret art. When this secret art was circulated to the extreme, his hands actually lit up. Then, the realm wall in front of him actually became transparent. Inside the realm wall, there was actually a lush world filled with vitality. Haha, I can finally return to the boundless realm. Sacred Lord Void Sky laughed crazily. He didn't care about the consequences as he poured all his yuan qi into Gu Fei's body. Stop, you lunatic! At this time, Gu Fei kept coughing out blood. Sacred Lord Void Sky's power was too strong. His martial body was about to explode. No, I can't stop. Little fellow, I'm sorry. Sacred Lord Void Sky saw the hope of returning to the boundless realm. How could he stop? He gritted his teeth and directly used a forbidden secret art. The moment this secret art's power exploded, the power of Gu Fei's returning truth's secret art increased by more than 10 times. F***CK. Before Gu Fei could curse, his whole body exploded with a boom, and the power of the returning to truth's secret technique increased by several times. Then, the power of the returning truth's secret art actually formed a fist-size hole on the realm wall. Swoosh! Chapter 5433. Gu Fei was really pitiful. He had only recovered for less than a day before his body exploded again. He had severely underestimated Sacred Lord Su Tian's determination to return to the limitless realm. Sacred Lord Su Tian would do anything to return to the limitless realm. As long as he could break the boundary wall, he wouldn't even care about Gu Fei's life. Furthermore, he and Gu Fei hadn't known each other for long. Sacrificing Gu Fei to open the boundary wall wasn't a big deal to him. He didn't even frown. The destructive power spread out, and a fist-sized hole appeared in the boundary wall of the limitless realm. Sacred Lord Su Tian didn't even hesitate as he charged into the hole. However, the power from the explosion of Gu Fei's martial body was too strong. Sacred Lord Su Tian's physical body also shattered in the void. However, Sacred Lord Su Tian's primordial spirit didn't dissipate. It charged into the limitless realm. Sacred Lord Su Tian's primordial spirit was still wearing a set of battle armor. It was this battle armor that blocked the terrifying destructive power and protected his primordial spirit. Haha! Sacred Lord Su Tian's primordial spirit laughed crazily. Gu Fei's spiritual force sensed the scene of Sacred Lord Su Tian's primordial spirit laughing crazily. A moment later, his spiritual force fell into endless darkness. Little fella, I'm sorry. Sacred Lord Su Tian didn't feel guilty at all after entering the limitless realm. At this moment, the hole in the boundary wall disappeared. Sacred Lord Su Tian, who was in the limitless realm, was overjoyed. Sacred Lord Su Tian, who was in the limitless realm, saw a boundless great world in front of him. One couldn't see the boundary wall in the limitless realm. Swish! Sacred Lord Su Tian's primordial spirit disappeared in the void. He needed to find a place to enter seclusion and reconstruct his Tao body as soon as possible. After losing his Tao body and primordial spirit, even someone as strong as Sacred Lord Su Tian had to hide. At this moment, outside the boundary wall of the limitless realm, the destructive power spread out for countless miles. Boundless chaotic aura was dispersed. Even Sacred Master Void Sky's inner world, which was hidden in the void, was affected and almost collapsed. Sacred Lord Void Sky didn't even want his inner world anymore. That was because Sacred Lord Su Tian didn't have enough time to take away his inner world. The hole that had appeared in the world wall was going to disappear in the blink of an eye. If he didn't make use of this opportunity, he wouldn't have another chance to return to the limitless realm. Sacred Lord Void Sky had finally succeeded after countless years. In Sacred Lord Void Sky's eyes, this little fellow called Gu Fei was dead for sure. After all, no one could survive such a powerful destructive power. Sacred Lord Void Sky's forbidden sacred art was simply too heaven-defying. This secret technique increased the power of both Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Void Sky by more than 10 times. This power was unbelievably strong. Even the boundary wall of the limitless realm had a fist-sized hole blasted out. Of course, the boundary wall of the limitless realm was simply too strong. This hole had only appeared for a short period of time. However, Sacred Lord Void Sky had accurately grasped this rare opportunity. Sacred Lord Void Sky had indeed returned to the limitless realm, but his methods were extremely despicable. At the very last moment, Gu Fei also knew that he had been used by Sacred Lord Void Sky. In fact, it could even be said that he had been plotted against by Sacred Lord Void Sky. A dignified former master of the Void World had actually done such a thing. This caused Gu Fei to be extremely furious. However, things were no longer under his control. Thus, his martial body exploded again and again. This time, even Sacred Lord Void Sky thought that Gu Fei wouldn't be able to survive. However, even Sacred Lord Void Sky had severely underestimated the heaven-defying power of the Heaven Ascension secret technique. Gu Fei still hadn't truly died. However, this time, his injuries weren't light. There wasn't even a mist of blood left behind. He had been completely annihilated. Since he had been annihilated so thoroughly, it would take a long time for him to recover. For a long period of time, the place where Gu Fei had exploded was engulfed by a terrifying turbulence of energy. Even the boundary wall of the limitless realm had ripples visible to the naked eye from time to time. After an unknown period of time, Gu Fei seemed to have fallen asleep. However, he had slept for a very long time. When his consciousness awoke from the endless darkness, he could only sense the chaotic void around him. The void here was simply too chaotic. "Void Sky, you bastard!" Gu Fei immediately cursed. At this moment, he had only regained consciousness and barely condensed his divine soul. He hadn't reconstructed his martial body yet. This time, his injuries were too severe. He had never expected that Sacred Lord Void Sky would attack him from behind. If he hadn't been careful, he would have been completely annihilated. After an unknown period of time, Gu Fei's divine soul gradually grew stronger. Bits of divine soul fragments appeared in the surrounding void, emitting divine light. These divine soul fragments were constantly gathering towards his divine soul from all directions. Buzz! When the last bit of divine soul light merged with Gu Fei's divine soul, there was a loud sound in the void. A powerful divine soul power erupted from his divine soul. Return of the true self! Gu Fei's divine soul sat cross-legged in the void. The chaotic spiritual energy of heaven and earth all gathered towards his divine soul. Reconstruct my martial body! Endless divine light enveloped Gu Fei's divine soul. He wanted to reconstruct his martial body. The amount of primordial qi needed to reconstruct his martial body was too great. After all, he was reconstructing an infinite realm martial body. This was definitely a long process. Previously, when he had destroyed his martial body had only turned into a bloody mist. Thus, reconstructing his martial body was relatively easy. However, the situation now was different. This time, his martial body had been completely obliterated. Not even a bloody mist was left behind. When Gu Fei successfully reconstructed his martial body, he didn't know how much time had passed. After reconstructing his martial body, he immediately returned to the inner world that sacred leader Su Tian had left behind. There was nothing much to say. He immediately took back the divine spring of life in his inner world and refined this inner world. He wasn't satisfied yet. Hence, he wanted to refine this chaotic divine metal mountain. However, it was not an easy task to refine this chaotic divine metal mountain. I'll just refine this mountain into a primal chaos seal. Gu Fei did as he thought. He immediately sat cross-legged in front of this chaotic divine metal mountain and struck it with Tao patterns one after another. Very soon, countless Tao patterns intertwined in the void around the chaotic divine metal mountain. The image of a huge furnace appeared in the chaos. Gu Fei activated the chaotic divine fire and started to refine the chaotic divine metal mountain. It wasn't easy to refine an infinite realm Tao artifact. However, Gu Fei also had a deep understanding of blacksmithing. He had nothing to do anyway. Although he hated sacred leader Su Tian to the core, that fellow had already entered the infinite realm. If he wanted to take revenge, he would first have to break the boundary wall and enter the infinite realm. However, it was impossible for him to break through the barrier of the infinite realm by himself. Even Sacred Lord Void Sky couldn't break through the barrier. Gu Fei knew that his cultivation couldn't be compared to sacred leader Su Tian's. At this moment, Gu Fei was trapped in this place. He wanted to kill his way back to the Void Realm, but it was impossible. After all, even he didn't know how far away he was from the Void Realm. Ordinary teleportation arrays wouldn't be able to send him back to the Void Realm. In fact, if he could return to the Void Realm, Sacred Leader Su Tian wouldn't have been trapped in this place for so long. Since he couldn't return, he would just slowly waste his time. Anyway, Gu Fei had an inner world, so he wouldn't be bored. Time was passing, but there was no such thing as time in the chaos. Therefore, Gu Fei didn't know how long he had been in the chaos. The chaotic divine metal mountain continued to shrink under Gu Fei's refinement, and the impurities on the sacred mountain were constantly refined by him. In the Void Realm, Gu Fei's disciples and subordinates didn't have a good time. This was because they couldn't leave Nanman at all. What made Xiaoya and the others depressed was that East King had returned. East King gathered his old subordinates in the east region of Nanman and fought with Xiaoya and the others endlessly. With the help of Lin Xiaotian, an emperor, East King actually managed to gather a team and occupied more than a dozen cities, forming a standoff with Xiaoya and the others. East King was originally one of the 19 feudal lords of Nanman. No one would say anything if he killed his way back to Nanman. This made Xiaoya really unhappy. In particular, Huangfuzun, the Array Emperor, was even more unhappy. This was because East King had escaped from his hands that day. But now, even if Huangfuzun wanted to kill East King, it would not be easy. Everyone knew that with just Lin Xiaotian and East King, how could it be easy to gather a team? Obviously, someone was supporting East King. Who was behind the scenes? Xiaoya and the others really couldn't figure out who it was because Gu Fei had really offended a lot of people. When Gu Fei was conquering the world, he almost offended all the forces in the 5 regions of the Void Realm. This was also the reason why Xiaoya and the others couldn't leave Nanman. Because once they left Nanman, they couldn't move an inch. Where did Master go? In the Nanman royal capital, Xiaoya stood on the city wall and looked at the east region. Even now, she still didn't know why Master suddenly disappeared. If Master was here, who would dare to offend him? They might have completely conquered the Void Realm by now. All the bad things kept happening because of Gu Fei's disappearance. The Buddha clan, which had originally surrendered to Gu Fei, also left Nanman. There was also the Sorcerer clan. Because of the Sorcerer Emperor, the Sorcerer clan did not attack Xiaoya and the others. However, the people of the Sorcerer clan would not help Xiaoya. As a result, Nanman was really in trouble both internally and externally. If they wanted to solve the current chaos, perhaps only the return of Gu Fei could do it. However, at this time, Gu Fei was trapped outside the world wall of the limitless realm. He couldn't even protect himself, so how could he help Xiaoya and the others? At this time in the Void Realm, no one dared to stand with Xiaoya and the others. Chapter 5434. Aggrieved! In the Southern Barbarian Imperial Palace's conference hall, Xiaoya was depressed. They simply fell directly from the sky to the ground. They actually fell to the point where everyone wanted to beat them up. When Gu Fei was still around, how glorious they were! Moreover, what made Xiaoya even more depressed was that King Dong, who was driven away by them, suddenly returned to Southern Barbarian and raised a flag in the eastern region of Southern Barbarian. He gathered a team, conquered more than a dozen cities, and became the local tyrant. The other feudal lords of Southern Barbarian did not make a move and were all watching. Even the Witch tribe was the same. The Witch Emperor did not come out to say anything, but the 9-tailed demon fox emperor of the Witch Emperor appeared in Southern Barbarian Imperial Palace. This guy was a half-step Supreme Emperor, stronger than the Witch Emperor. Her appearance in Southern Barbarian Imperial Palace made Xiaoya and the others very nervous. However, this 9-tailed demon fox emperor did not do anything. She just stayed in Southern Barbarian Imperial Palace. Xiaoya's direct subordinates had been sent out. Huangfuzun dealt with King Dong in the eastern region, and the 4 great generals guarded Southern Barbarian Imperial Palace. The 120,000 Hongtian divine army left by Gu Fei were responsible for the safety of Southern Barbarian Imperial Palace. The 4 great generals were at the Supreme Emperor realm, which was the existence of the Eternal Realm. In fact, the nine-tailed demon fox emperor could not cause much trouble in southern barbarian imperial palace. However, the nine-tailed demon fox emperor represented the witch emperor, and the witch emperor was the ruler of the witch tribe. The witch tribe was the strongest force in southern barbarian and had the most clansmen. At this time, Xiaoya was absolutely unwilling to have any unpleasant things with the witch tribe, because the current southern barbarian was chaotic enough. There were even mysterious experts sneaking into southern barbarian imperial palace to assassinate Xiaoya. Xiaoya was Gu Fei's eldest disciple. Additionally, she was also the disciple with the weakest cultivation base. There were quite a few people capable of killing Xiaoya. However, with the protection of the four great generals, assassinating Xiaoya was not an easy task. Although southern barbarian was full of undercurrents, with the four great generals guarding it, as long as it was not the supreme existence of the infinite realm, who could do anything to Xiaoya and the others? Of course, the demons were still eyeing them covetously. The strength of the demons couldn't be underestimated, but the demons didn't dare to invade the southern wilderness on a large scale. Because once Xiaoya and the others fought with the demons would suffer heavy losses. The eastern barren demon race didn't dare to push Xiaoya and the others too far. As for the West Sea, it was the territory of the West Sea Dragon clan. The West Sea Dragon clan had a very good relationship with Gu Fei. Naturally, the West Sea Dragon clan would not make things difficult for Little Ya and the others. As for the Ghost Emperor of the North Ruins, it was hard to say. In short, the southern barbarians had become the public enemy of the entire Void Realm. Xiaoya and the others had not reached a desperate situation yet, but that was because the limitless demon lord could not personally take action. Even a supreme existence like the extreme demon lord could not do as he pleased in the Void Realm. The limitless fire spirit was also targeted by Sacred Master Su Tian's clone. He would not allow an infinite prime to act. At this time, in the chaotic void that was infinitely far away from the Void Realm, Gu Fei was bored out of his mind. He was the only one left here. That despicable and shameless Sacred Master Su Tian actually dared to plot against him. How could he swallow this insult? Rumble! The endless, limitless divine fire burned in the chaotic void. This kind of divine fire could not be extinguished at all. It could refine everything in the world. Although the primal divine metal mountain in front of him was huge, it could not withstand the tempering of the primal divine fire. The entire primal divine metal mountain was constantly shrinking, and the impurities were constantly being refined. This primal divine metal mountain had been nurtured in the chaos for an unknown period of time. This thing was the best blacksmithing material that Gu Fei could find at the moment. After an unknown period of time, under the envelopment of the endless limitless divine fire, the primal divine metal mountain began to change and gradually turned into a giant seal. Countless Tao patterns intertwined on the giant seal and were imprinted on it. A terrifying force condensed on the giant seal. This primal divine seal was constantly forming. There was no concept of time or space in the chaotic void. This was because this was not heaven and earth. There were no laws of heaven and earth here. Of course, since Gu Fei could walk in the chaos, his cultivation was extremely strong. He could completely ignore the chaotic turbulence. After an unknown period of time, there was a sudden rumble in the chaotic void. Endless primal chaos energy frantically gathered towards the giant seal. The primal chaos energy within hundreds of thousands of miles was completely devoured by this giant seal. This was an unimaginably strong force. Gu Fei used all his strength to produce 9 Dao seals. Each Dao seal represented a type of great Dao power. All 9 Dao seals entered the giant seal. Primal Chaos Seal, form! Gu Fei roared. The mountain-like primal chaos seal rapidly shrank. Then, it flew towards him and landed in his hand. Not bad! Gu Fei nodded in satisfaction. The primal chaos seal was surrounded by primal chaos energy. It gave off an extremely strong sense of oppression. This was an unbounded Dao artifact. This was also the first time Gu Fei had refined an unbounded Dao artifact. The strength of this unbounded Dao artifact went without saying. It was a supreme Dao artifact that could injure unbounded primes. When I enter the unbounded realm, I will use this giant seal to smash that old man to pieces. Gu Fei gritted his teeth. His gaze became extremely sharp. After refining the primal chaos seal, Gu Fei began to explore the surrounding chaotic void. The chaotic void, simply put, was a void in a state of chaos. There seemed to be nothing here apart from primal chaos energy. However, this wasn't absolute. This was because some things could still be nurtured in the chaos. This primal divine metal mountain was an example. However, exploring the primal chaos void was a very dangerous and boring thing to do. Even so, he had to do it. Gu Fei continued to expand his search area. When Gu Fei went out to explore for the 1309th time, he actually discovered a ruin in the chaos. A ruin that floated quietly in the chaos. This ruin was simply too big. Even Gu Fei's spiritual force could not envelop the entire ruin. Moreover, this ruin seemed to be a world that had been destroyed. The destruction of a great world did not necessarily mean that it would explode into nothingness. It was also possible that the entire great world would shrink and be compressed into a wasteland without any life. This wasteland in front of him should have been formed after the destruction of a great world. When Gu Fei set foot on this wasteland, he sensed a strange aura. However, this aura was not the aura of life. This was the first time Gu Fei had sensed such an aura. Could this be an aura unique to the destruction of a great world? Gu Fei carefully walked on this wasteland. Everything he saw was a wasteland. However, he soon discovered a light in front of him. How is this possible? Chapter 5435. After Gu Fei successfully refined the primal chaos seal outside the boundary of the unbounded realm, he began exploring the primal chaos void. When he explored for the 13,009th time, he was pleasantly surprised. He found a wasteland in a primal chaos that he had never explored before. There seemed to be nothing in this mysterious wasteland. It was a forbidden zone for life. A wasteland formed from the destruction of the world would not produce any life in the first place, because all life could not survive in the primal chaos. Of course, that was except for especially powerful life forms like Gu Fei. As Gu Fei walked on the wasteland, he sensed the strange aura that permeated the wasteland. Suddenly, he discovered a ball of light in the distance. How is this possible? Gu Fei stomped on the ground with his right foot, and in the next moment, he disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the ball of light. This ball of light was actually emitted from the body of a skeleton. A human skeleton was sitting cross-legged on a large rock, and in the skeleton's hand was a jade token. Gu Fei discovered that the light he saw was emitted from the jade token in the skeleton's hand. Good heavens! Gu Fei could not help but be moved, because he could sense that the jade token in the skeleton's hand was actually emitting a powerful wave of primal qi. This skeleton had been dead for an unknown period of time, but its bones were still as sparkling and translucent as peerless divine jade. It's at least an impressive person at the extreme Tao realm. Gu Fei sighed. A powerful existence at the extreme Tao realm had actually died here. It seemed like the calamity back then was extremely terrifying. Even an existence at the extreme Tao realm could not survive. In fact, an existence at the extreme Tao realm was already powerful enough. Even if the world was destroyed, they could still survive. However, this also depended on the world. If a world like the unbounded realm was destroyed, even an existence at the infinite prime realm would die, let alone an extreme Tao powerhouse. Perhaps this wasteland used to be an extremely powerful world, so much so that even an extreme Tao powerhouse could not survive the destruction of this world. What is this? Gu Fei stretched out his right hand, and the jade token in the skeleton's hand flew directly into his hand. The moment he grabbed the jade token, a powerful divine sense immediately rushed into his hand from the jade token. Then, it quickly moved up his arm and rushed towards his head. Haha! To think that I would still be alive after so many years! The divine will laughed heartily. This fellow was simply ecstatic. Who are you? Gu Fei was shocked. You don't have the right to know who I am. Just obediently let me refine you. the divine will said arrogantly. This? Gu Fei never imagined that such a thing would happen. This jade tablet actually had an indestructible divine sense attached to it. It was obvious that this fellow wanted to seize his body, refine his soul, and occupy his martial body. I don't have the right? Gu Fei smiled bitterly. In the next moment, an extremely vast spiritual strength burst out from between his eyebrows, and the divine will that rushed into his body was directly forced out. What? A faint, illusory figure trembled in the void. The divine will could no longer be fierce, and directly became timid. Don't kill me, don't kill me. I'm willing to be Master's slave and be at Master's command. In order to survive, this divine will directly beg Gu Fei. The arrogant fellow who wanted to refine Gu Fei's spiritual soul and martial body was willing to do anything in order to live. All he wanted was to survive. In front of Gu Fei's spiritual strength, this fellow's divine will was simply so weak that it was almost negligible. This fellow actually dared to seize his body. This was simply asking for death. You're just a divine will. What value do you have? Gu Fei said disdainfully. There's value, there's value. I know a place where there might be people there. The divine will hurriedly said. What? Gu Fei's eyes instantly lit up. There was still someone alive in this wasteland. Seeing that Gu Fei was moved, this fellow hurriedly said. That is a place of refuge. Before the world was destroyed, many people entered that place. Very well, bring me there. If you dare to lie to me, I will make it hard for you to die. Gu Fei made a grabbing motion with his right hand towards the strand of divine sense, and caught it in his hand. The divine will was immediately speechless. Very quickly, Gu Fei read all the memories of this divine will. It turned out that countless years ago, this wasteland was indeed a super-large world. This super-large world was called the Flame World. This Flame World was even stronger than the Void World, second only to the Unbounded World. However, when this super-large world was discovered to its extreme, it was suddenly destroyed and became the wasteland that it was today. This was how the wasteland came to be, but how this Flame World was destroyed, even this divine will did not know. Something that even an extreme Tao expert did not know. It seemed that this was the greatest secret of the Flame World. The destruction of the Flame World, billions of lives suffered. However, the destruction of the Flame World was a process, it was not immediately destroyed. Therefore, many experts of the Flame World hid in places of refuge. However, whether these places of refuge could allow them to survive was another matter. One had to know that when a super-large world like the Flame World was destroyed, the destructive power that was released was absolutely terrifying to an unimaginable level. Most likely, there were few places of refuge that could withstand the destructive power. This person who only had a divine will left was called Yen Lai. He was an extreme Tao expert of the Flame World. With his cultivation, he could be considered an expert in the Flame World, but he could not survive. He could only leave behind a divine will and wait to be reborn. Unfortunately, after waiting for countless years, the person who came was Gu Fei. Yen Lai wanted to possess Gu Fei at this time, he was tired of living. How much longer until we arrive? Gu Fei walked on the wasteland for several hours with Yen Lai's divine will but still did not reach the place Yen Lai spoke of. Also, the entire wasteland was not the same as before, and so much time had passed. It would not be easy to find those places of refuge. The primordial stone inscription is here, Yen Lai suddenly exclaimed. Primordial stone inscription? Gu Fei stilled when he heard this. There was something born from the primordial stone inscription here. He looked around and saw half of a stone tablet on a short mountain in the distance. This was the so-called primordial stone inscription. Before the destruction of the Flame World, this primordial stone inscription was a very famous place. But now, this place was in ruins. Yen Lai sighed. Only half of the primordial stone inscription was left. It seemed that there was nothing in the Flame World wasteland that was complete. The primordial stone inscription was just a few large words carved on a piece of primordial stone. Those were words left behind by a peerless expert, and were incomparably precious. because these words contained the Tao left behind by that peerless expert. If one could comprehend the Tao of the primordial stone inscription, one's cultivation would advance greatly. Therefore, this primordial stone inscription was a place of pilgrimage for countless cultivators at that time. Where is the place of refuge? Gu Fei was a little impatient. The jade tablet is the key to open the small world, Yan Lai hurriedly said. Back then, he died outside because he could not enter the small world in time. Back then, only great figures were qualified to enter the small world to take refuge. The so-called place of refuge was actually a small world opened up by those great figures. Gu Fei looked at the jade tablet in his hand. This jade tablet was not something that an extreme Tao expert could refine. This jade tablet came from the hands of an expert who surpassed the extreme Tao realm. For Yan Lai to have such a jade tablet, it was inseparable from his identity. Yan Lai was a member of a large clan in the flame world. This small world was actually opened up by an expert of Yan Lai's family. Gu Fei did not hesitate and directly activated the jade tablet in his hand. Buzz! The void trembled and a powerful wave of energy erupted from the jade tablet. Then, the entire ground began to shake. A stone door emerged from the ground. It's still here, the small world is still here. Yan Lai was extremely excited. As long as he returned to the small world, he would have a chance to turn the tables. Because an old ancestor of the Yan clan had also retreated into the small world to take refuge. If there were no accidents, this old ancestor should still be alive because the stone door was basically intact. The stone door was the entrance to the small world. If the people inside wanted to come out, they also needed to open the stone door. However, it was clear that this stone door had not been opened for a long time. The stone door was covered with cracks, as if it could collapse at any time. Return to origin! With a wave of his right hand, Gu Fei directly threw out the strand of consciousness in his hand. Then, a figure appeared in the void, and the surrounding primal chaos energy all gathered towards that figure. Soon, that figure became solid. Of course, this wasn't a body of flesh and blood. In just an instant, Gu Fei had actually reconstructed a body for Yan Lai. Although it wasn't a body of flesh and blood, it was still many times better than the state of a mere consciousness. It had to be said that this Yan Lai's appearance was quite good. Slender figure, sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, this guy was a handsome man. What's the use of being handsome? Gu Fei was very disdainful. Master, many thanks for Master's grace of rebirth. Yan Lai was incomparably excited. Boom! At this time, the stone door that emerged from the ground suddenly exploded, turning into a ball of divine light. Lead the way, what are you waiting for? Gu Fei said to Yan Lai. Yes. This little one will immediately lead the way for Master. Yan Lai hurriedly rushed over. Chapter 5436. When Gu Fei was exploring the chaotic void, he actually found an incomparably huge wasteland. There were actually survivors in this wasteland. This was definitely a pleasant surprise for Gu Fei. He learned about the origin of this wasteland from a guy named Yan Lai's divine sense. This place used to be a super big world. However, for some unknown reason, when this super large world reached its limit, it actually embarked on a terrifying path of destruction. This super large world called the Flame World was originally incomparably glorious and powerful, but in the end, it still couldn't escape the fate of destruction. Even this extreme Tao realm Yan Lai didn't know why the Flame World suddenly headed towards destruction. At this time, the stone door that emerged from the ground suddenly exploded. Then, a ball of divine light appeared in the void, and a powerful wave of heaven and earth power surged out of this ball of divine light. Yan Lai directly rushed forward and carefully walked into this ball of divine light. Seeing Yan Lai disappear inside, Gu Fei didn't immediately follow. However, he waited for a while and still didn't see Yan Lai come out. This fellow dares to escape? Gu Fei raised his eyebrows. In the next moment, he took a step forward and directly walked into the ball of divine light in front of him. He only felt as if he had passed through a layer of ice-cold water membrane. In the next moment, his eyes brightened, and he saw a side of the world appear in front of him. However, that Yen Lai had already disappeared without a trace. Ha ha, good, very good! Gu Fei laughed. A puny extreme Dao realm little fellow actually dared to escape in front of him? Moreover, this little fellow's body was reconstructed by him. Swoosh! At this time, a divine arrow shot from the sky and directly fell towards Gu Fei's head. Gu Fei didn't even dodge and directly let the divine arrow hit his head. Then, the divine arrow directly rebounded, unable to harm him at all. At this time, he found himself standing on an array platform. There was nothing around the array platform, not even a tree. The array platform was surrounded by withered yellow weeds. Lacking vitality! Gu Fei frowned. This small world wasn't very big, and it lacked vitality. It was obvious that this inner world had been isolated from the outside world for too long. A pocket world also required energy to maintain. If a pocket world was isolated from the outside world, then it would need to consume the yuan qi of the experts in the pocket world to support this pocket world. At this time, countless divine arrows fell from the sky, directly falling towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei was too lazy to make a move. Countless divine arrows fell from the sky and hit Gu Fei's body, but they all bounced off. Not a single divine arrow could hurt Gu Fei. At this time, a large group of people rushed out from a distant city and charged towards Gu Fei. What's going on? When Gu Fei saw the formation of these people, he was immediately stunned. Do they need to run? Carrying a machete, holding a spear, and carrying a bow and arrow, was this a normal fight? In particular, the aura of this group of people could only be described as weak. A group of people who aren't even immortals? A group of people who aren't even immortals? What's going on? Are they messing with me? Gu Fei didn't expect to encounter such a group of people. The leader of this group was riding a horse that was as thin as a match. When the horse galloped, Gu Fei was worried that it would fall to the ground at any time. The person riding the horse was a valiant and formidable-looking woman. Why was this woman said to be valiant and formidable-looking? It was because she was an extremely beautiful woman. Moreover, she was young and wore animal skin. She looked fair and clean, but she still pretended to be very fierce. Was this the legendary act of showing off? Charge. Kill. This group of people were like mountain bandits, directly charging in front of Gu Fei. Young miss, why did you stop? A man carrying an axe shouted at the woman on the horse. If you don't stop, then you do it, young miss said. Pretend that I didn't say anything. That man immediately backed down. He didn't want to back down, but in front of young miss, he had no choice. The legendary path to the outside world has opened? The young miss acted as if she couldn't see Gu Fei. She only stared at the ball of divine light behind Gu Fei. Legendary? Gu Fei couldn't help but frown when he heard that. Who are you? Are you from the outside world? Young miss looked at Gu Fei and asked. Do you often have outsiders here? Gu Fei smiled. No outsiders have ever entered our place. Young miss stared at Gu Fei as though she was looking at a monster, not even blinking. Then, do you think I'm an outsider? Gu Fei looked at these people. These people were too tragic to look at. They weren't even immortals or gods. Once they went outside, they would only end up dead. Moreover, the situation of this small world was not good. It had declined to an unbearable degree. In a few hundred years, this small world would be finished. If Gu Fei didn't come, the people here would naturally die. He hadn't seen such a strange person for a long time. No one would have thought that the person hiding in this small world would turn into an ordinary person. Outsider, he's actually an outsider. The group of people behind young miss were extremely excited. Haha, honored guest, sorry for not going out to meet you, please. Young miss actually jumped down from the horse and enthusiastically invited Gu Fei into the city. Where did Yen Lai go? Gu Fei released his divine sense, but he found that his divine sense couldn't enter the city. Under the perception of his divine sense, he was shocked to find that this side of the world was really at the end of the line, which made him very surprised. This city was not simple. Gu Fei was an infinite prime, but his divine sense couldn't enter this city. Could it be that this city was protected by an infinite prime formation? The flame world in the past was an incomparably glorious superworld. An infinite prime might have been born in the flame world. However, if Gu Fei wanted to destroy this city, it wouldn't be difficult. Forget it, Yan Lai won't be able to go anywhere. Gu Fei followed the young miss into the city. The city wasn't big, but there were many people living in it. However, what surprised Gu Fei was that there wasn't a single existence above the immortal realm. In other words, they were just ordinary people. How can this be? Gu Fei was a little curious. Something might have happened here. Otherwise, how could the people here be ordinary people? One should know that the Yen clan here used to be a superforce in the flame world. Their ancestor was one of the strongest existences in the flame world back then. Yen Shi was the city lord of this Yen Tian city. Because her cultivation was the highest in the entire Yen Tian city, her fists were the toughest. Therefore, she was the boss and everyone had to listen to her. Moreover, Yen Shi's family was also the strongest in the city. Everyone in the city had the surname Yen, but the direct bloodline was Yen Shi's. After countless years, the other bloodlines had become strangers. However, the direct bloodline of the Yen clan still ruled this Yen Tian city. Yen Shi set up a banquet to welcome Gu Fei. You guys are so unaccountably solicitous. Hee, what do you want? Gu Fei sat down and looked at the table full of delicacies, but he didn't eat. It's nothing big. We just want you to help us leave this place. Yen Shi smiled. The outside world has already perished. You will die if you go out now. Gu Fei shook his head and said, We will die if we go out, then how can you live outside? Yen Shi said disapprovingly. I'm different. Gu Fei looked at Yen Shi. All right, state your conditions. Yen Shi said helplessly. What conditions? Gu Fei played dumb. Stop pretending. It's too much. Yen Shi's face became solemn. TSK, a little girl wants to threaten me? Save it. As long as I feel like it, I can destroy this small world with a flick of my finger. Gu Fei said disapprovingly. Are you really the legendary great mediator? Yen Shi was not afraid when she heard this. Instead, she was very excited. What is a great mediator? Gu Fei said indifferently. Hee, there have always been legends about great mediators here. Legend has it that our ancestors also had great mediators, but no one knows why they disappeared. Yen Shi explained. You don't even know how your ancestors disappeared? Gu Fei was really speechless. It seemed that something unknown had happened in this small world. Otherwise, how could the so-called great mediators in this small world disappear? This was especially true for the old ancestors of the Yen clan. Back then, they had all hidden in this small world to take refuge. They would definitely not disappear for no reason. Although Gu Fei was curious, it didn't seem to have anything to do with him. He was lucky enough to be able to find this wasteland and find the people who were still alive in the wasteland. He wondered how many small worlds like this there were in this wasteland. Since the Yen race could hide in a small world when Yen world was destroyed, then the other superforces in Yen world could also hide in a small world. It seemed that there might be many living people in the wasteland. Thinking of this, a crazy idea suddenly appeared in Gu Fei's mind. I really don't know. Yen Shi held her cheeks and looked at Gu Fei. She was very familiar with everyone in Yen Tian city. Therefore, she was very sure that this guy was an outsider. The legendary great divinity had actually appeared in front of her, which made her extremely excited. Although the old ancestor disappeared for some reason, Yen Shi's family still had records of their old ancestor. And their old ancestor was a great mediator. This small world of yours is about to be destroyed, Gu Fei said indifferently. I know, Yen Shi said. You know? Chapter 5437. In this endless wasteland, there used to be a super big world that was developed to the extreme. This shocked Gu Fei. He learned about this wasteland from Yen Lai. This was a lifeless place formed after the destruction of Flame World. In reality, Flame World's territory was many times larger than this wasteland. But one day, Flame World started to walk towards destruction. The process of Flame World's destruction was not very fast because Flame World did not directly explode into dust. Instead, it started to shrink. When Flame World started to shrink, the destructive power it produced destroyed all life. However, many powerful beings hid in their little worlds at the critical moment. The little world that Yanxi was in was one of the Yen race's little worlds. In the past, many important figures took refuge here. But today, all the important figures in the Yen race's little world had disappeared. Even the direct descendants of the Yen race did not know why their old ancestor suddenly disappeared. This was an unsolved mystery in the Yen race's little world. What made Gu Fei speechless was that there was not a single true cultivator in the Yen race's little world. How was this possible? The Yen race was one of the strongest races in Flame World in the past. How did they fall to such a state? However, Gu Fei soon found out the reason. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in this small world of the Yen clan was too thin. How could such a thin spiritual energy of heaven and earth give birth to a powerful existence? Even if the Yen race had all kinds of powerful cultivation methods, this place could not give birth to true cultivators. This was the tragedy of the Yen race. But now Gu Fei came. Yanxi was very shrewd. This outsider was a great esper. They were small shrimps and were definitely not a match for this great esper. If the other wanted to destroy them, it would only take a flick of a finger. Therefore, she had to try her best to please this guy. Yanxi set up a banquet to entertain Gu Fei. They took out their best food. This was a feast that could only be eaten during a grand festival. At this time, many people were sticking their heads out. "Please save us!" Yanxi began to use her pestering methods. When had Gu Fei ever encountered such a situation? Soon, a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. "Save us, please!" Yanxi began to act like a spoiled child. "What the?" When those guys who were peeking their heads out saw this scene, they immediately fell to the ground. "Is the cute little girl acting cute, our city lord?" Gu Fei was a blockhead. Even if he had cultivated for countless years, he was still an unromantic fellow. That was why he couldn't pick up girls. This was Gu Fei's weakness. He only had one wife, and the number of confidants he had could be counted with one hand. Therefore, he really couldn't deal with Yanxi. "All right, I promise to save you, okay?" Under Yanxi's offensive, Gu Fei finally couldn't hold on any longer. In fact, given his current situation, he was eager to find more people to help him. After all, it would be too miserable if he was the only one wandering in the endless chaos. That Sacred Master Su Tian was a good example. When he thought of Sacred Master Su Tian, Gu Fei went crazy. He really didn't expect Sacred Master Su Tian to plot against him and use him to break open the boundary of the limitless realm. She was digging a grave for him. Fortunately, he kept an eye out. Otherwise, he would have really died. In fact, Gu Fei didn't leave that eye of vigilance to guard against Sacred Master Su Tian. He thought that his goal was the same as Sacred Master Su Tian's. Sacred Master Su Tian wanted to rely on him to help open the boundary wall of the limitless realm, so Gu Fei wouldn't attack him. However, who would have thought that something that Gu Fei didn't expect would happen? "You are the benefactor of our Yen tribe. How about I repay you with my body?" Yanxi raised her wine glass and looked at Gu Fei seductively. Shit! A drop of cold sweat flowed down from Gu Fei's forehead and landed on the table. An honorable supreme of the limitless realm was actually scared off by a little girl. If others knew about this, they would definitely laugh their heads off. However, Gu Fei's EQ was just that low. This couldn't be helped. Gu Fei waved his right hand. In the next moment, Yanxi flew out of the house as if she was riding on a cloud and directly flew out of Yantian City. When the people outside saw this, they were immediately dumbfounded. "Can't you let me have a good meal?" Gu Fei said helplessly. "City Lord." The people who were waiting outside immediately chased after Yanxi. The people outside had also run away. Finally, there was no one to disturb him while he was eating. He hadn't eaten such an exquisite meal in a long time. After sending Yan Shi off, Gu Fei started eating. He ate a lot of meat and drank a lot of wine. He was in a good mood. Great divine ability, great divine ability. Although Yan Shi was thrown out of Yantian City by Gu Fei, she was extremely excited. The divine ability that Gu Fei displayed was enough to prove that he was a true great divine ability. Great divine ability was a legendary existence in the small world of the Yan clan. Gu Fei's throw directly threw Yan Shi into a small forest about 100 miles away from Yantian City. Yan Shi smashed into the small forest. Yan Shi wasn't injured, but when she walked out of the small forest, she was stunned. She didn't see Yantian City. This is going to be troublesome. Yan Shi knew that she probably wouldn't be able to return to Yantian City for a while. She was burning with anxiety. If Gu Fei were to leave, they would suffer a great loss. Yan Shi still hadn't returned to Yantian City. At this moment, within Flame Sky City, a fellow sneaked out of the city and headed towards a mountain range outside the city. That was the Yan clan's ancestral mountain. A figure silently followed behind that person. That person was very careful, cunning and vigilant. However, no matter how cunning he was, he couldn't sense the existence of the person behind him. The Yan clan's ancestral mountain was the only mountain in the Yan clan's small world. The Yan clan's ancestral mountain contained the tombs of the past generations. Their ancestors were all buried in the ancestral mountain. Yan Lai, this guy. The person behind this guy was naturally Gu Fei. The person who rushed to the Yan clan's ancestral mountain under the cover of the night was Yan Lai, who had previously disappeared. This guy finally showed up. Chapter 5438. The Yan clan's small world wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. Yantian City was shrouded in an aura that could even interfere with Gu Fei's divine sense. Yan Lai hid in Yantian City, so Gu Fei naturally couldn't sense his existence. However, Yan Lai finally couldn't help but come out at night. He took advantage of the darkness to sneak out of Yantian City. The moment Yan Lai stepped out of Yantian City, Gu Fei sensed him. What is this guy doing in that place? Gu Fei also knew that the mountain range was the Yan clan's ancestral mountain. The Yan clan's ancestral mountain was the graveyard of the fallen experts of the Yan clan. Could it be that this place was hiding some kind of secret? At this time, Gu Fei suddenly realized that he hadn't searched Yan Lai's divine sense thoroughly. For an existence like Yan Lai, who was at the extreme Dao level, it wasn't difficult to tamper with his divine sense memories. I was careless. Gu Fei shook his head helplessly. Yan Lai was much more cunning than he had imagined, but so what? In the face of absolute power, it was useless for Yan Lai to be cunning. Yan Lai was far from recovering his extreme Dao realm cultivation. If he wanted to kill Yan Lai, he only needed to snap his fingers. The Yan clan's ancestral mountain was about 300 miles away from Yantian City. For people like Yan Shi who weren't even immortals, such a distance was incomparably far. However, for Yan Lai, it was a distance that could be covered in an instant. Soon Yan Lai arrived outside the Yan clan's ancestral mountain. After all, this was the Yan clan's ancestral mountain. There were more than 10 Yan clan members guarding the mountain gate, but no one noticed that 2 people had entered the ancestral mountain. The entire ancestral mountain stood tall on the ground, giving off a gloomy and terrifying atmosphere. It should be known that many of the Yan clan's ancestors were buried in the ancestral mountain. Therefore, it was inevitable that a terrifying corpse aura would appear on the ancestral mountain. After a peerless expert died, if their corpses didn't decay, they could undergo a corpse transformation. However, if the corpse decayed, it would produce corpse chi, corpse poison, and so on. This was also very troublesome. The Yan clan's ancestral mountain had always been a forbidden ground for the Yan clan. Only on the day of worship once a year could the members of the Yan clan ascend the mountain to worship their ancestors. At other times, even the important figures of the Yan clan were not allowed to ascend the mountain. Because the ancestral mountain was very dangerous, filled with unknown dangers. However, in Gu Fei's eyes, the Yan clan's ancestral mountain was not some dangerous place. Yan Lai directly headed towards the peak of the mountain. Even if he passed by some great tombs, he would still directly rush past them. Soon, Yen Lai reached the top. At the peak of the Yen clan's ancestral mountain was a tomb. However, this tomb was very simple. It was merely a mound of earth. In fact, it did not even have a tombstone. Without a tombstone, it was impossible to tell whose grave it was. However, to Gu Fei's surprise, Yen Lai's right foot stepped on the ground in front of the tomb, and the ground opened up. Yen Lai doesn't even think about it as he directly jumps into the crack in the ground. What the hell? Gu Fei's eyes couldn't help but sharpen when he saw this. At this moment, the crack in the ground was actually continuously repairing itself. It seemed like it was about to disappear. In a flash, Gu Fei also rushed in. The moment Gu Fei rushed in, the crack in the ground disappeared without a trace. It was as if it had never been there. The underground passage was very long and seemed to lead directly to the Earth's core. However, Gu Fei was very clear that this small world wasn't very big and that there would soon be an end. Sure enough, a light came from below. Gu Fei had already turned invisible. He had perfectly merged with his surroundings. No one could sense his existence. Then, a huge space appeared in front of Gu Fei. The Yen clan's ancestral mountain really had a secret. He saw that the huge space was completely enveloped by a layer of divine light. Silhouettes that seemed to have existed since time immemorial were sitting cross-legged in that space without moving. So that's how it is! At this moment, Gu Fei finally understood why the big shots of the Yen clan had suddenly disappeared from the Yen clan's small world. They had all been hiding here. This was a space that was independent of the Yen clan's small world. There was nothing here except spiritual energy. That's right, only spiritual energy that could sustain the big shots of the Yen clan. The source of this spiritual energy was the primal chaos outside this space. Not bad! Gu Fei saw through this space with a glance. The big shots of the Yen clan could actually absorb spiritual energy from the primal chaos. This wasn't something that ordinary people could do. There were a total of 15 patriarchs of the Yen clan hiding in this enormous space. All of them were in a deep slumber, and would not wake up easily. Because the spiritual energy here was barely enough to sustain their survival, these guys didn't dare to go anywhere. They couldn't go anywhere. Going out would consume their vitality. Every bit of vitality consumed would be lost. The Yen clan's small world didn't have any spiritual energy to replenish their vitality. Gu Fei sensed. The strongest of the Yen clan ancestors hiding here was actually in the half-step infinity realm. That guy really was a super expert. This was enough to prove that the Yen clan was extremely powerful in the distant past. Surpassing the eternal realm, half-step infinity realm. Even the native beings of the void realm couldn't reach this level of cultivation. And among these guys, the one with the weakest cultivation is Yen Lai. Old ancestor, I've returned! Yen Lai is about to cry. He kowtows towards the ancestors sitting cross-legged in the void. Yen Lai, what's the situation in the outside world? An ancestor suddenly opened his eyes and an ancient voice resounded in this huge space. Third generation ancestor, the flame world is destroyed. Everything is destroyed. Yen Lai cried. You don't need to be sad. This is already within our expectations. The third generation ancestor of the Yen clan said indifferently. Yen Lai stilled when he heard this. This third generation ancestor could still be so calm after hearing the news of the flame world's destruction. As expected of the third generation ancestor. The world can be destroyed, but it can also be reborn. Perhaps now is the time. The third generation ancestor said indifferently. Yen Lai was even more shocked when he heard this. Is there a great secret in the clan that I don't know? Interesting. At this time, a voice suddenly sounded. What? Yen Lai's shock was no different from a smile. Whoosh! Two beams of divine light rushed out of the third generation ancestor's eyes and swept towards a figure in the sky. It's you? When Yen Lai saw the figure descending from the sky, he was even more dumbfounded. The person who had come was the master he had just recognized, Gu Fei. Hee, you dare betray me, you've got some guts! Gu Fei glanced at Yen Lai. Yen Lai is so scared that he's shivering, already unable to speak. There was nothing he could do. The pressure Gu Fei gave him was too strong. In front of Gu Fei, he was as weak as an ant. He couldn't even think of resisting. "Who are you?" At this time, even the Yen clan's third-generation ancestor couldn't help but be moved. This place was very secretive. Ever since it had been sealed, no one had been able to enter. Only Yen Lai, who had been sent out, knew how to enter this place. In fact, the Yen clan's members outside the Yen clan's pocket world had long been abandoned by the 15 great ancestors of the Yen clan. They had been left to fend for themselves outside. "Who am I?" "I'm this fellow's master. Are you satisfied with this answer?" Gu Fei smiled. "What?" The Yen clan's third-generation ancestor's expression immediately turned gloomy. This person was probably telling the truth because Yen Lai had been scared out of his wits when this person had appeared. "All right, let's not waste any more time. Do you submit to me or die? Choose," Gu Fei said indifferently. At this time, apart from the Yen clan's third-generation ancestor, the other ancestors of the Yen clan had yet to awaken from their deep slumber. "I choose to kill you," the Yen clan's third-generation ancestor said coldly. In the next moment, he waved his right hand and a cold light immediately shot towards Gu Fei. "Then you can die!" Gu Fei pointed his finger and immediately destroyed the cold light. In the next moment, the light from his finger directly pierced the Yen clan's third-generation ancestor's forehead. Then, the Yen clan's third-generation ancestor dissipated into the void with boundless unwillingness and fear. His body and soul had been completely destroyed. You killed the third-generation ancestor?" Yen Lai's voice trembled as he spoke. "So what if I killed him? He's just a fellow at the great success of the extreme grade," Gu Fei said indifferently. "Master, I didn't want to betray you. Master, please spare my life. Master, please spare my life." Yen Lai immediately turned over and prostrated on the ground, begging Gu Fei to spare his life. Even the third-generation ancestor, who was at the great success of the extreme grade, had been killed by Gu Fei's finger. What about Yen Lai? This guy Yen Lai is lying on the ground, terrified to the extreme. He keeps banging his head, and cracks appear on his forehead one after another. He didn't have a body of flesh and blood. Even this body was reconstructed by Gu Fei. Gu Fei didn't care whether he killed Yen Lai or not. However, what surprised Gu Fei was that the other Yen clan's ancestors were still in a deep sleep. None of them showed any signs of waking up. Gu Fei knew that these guys were in a deep sleep. In this state of deep sleep, they wouldn't wake up even if they were cut into 8 pieces. "Take them away first!" With a wave of his hand, Gu Fei sucked the patriarchs of the Yen clan into his internal world along with the surrounding space. "What should I do with you?" Gu Fei looked at the shivering Yen Lai and asked. "Master, please spare my life. Just treat me as a fart and let me go." Chapter 5439. In the end, Gu Fei did not kill Yen Lai. It should be known that in the primal chaos, he really hoped to meet a human. This Yen Lai was the first human he met. Of course, although this guy survived the great destruction of the flame world, he was only left with a strand of consciousness. Yen Lai was an extreme Dao realm expert. Although only a strand of consciousness was left, he could still return to his origin, reconstruct his divine soul, and recover. Of course, if this fellow's divine sense was scattered, then he would be completely dead, and it would be impossible for him to recover. This time, Yen Lai had made a great contribution by capturing all the Yen clan's ancestors in one fell swoop. Gu Fei naturally had to reward this guy. If Yen Lai had not led the way, how could he have found the Yen clan's ancestors' lair? As for how to deal with these Yen clan's ancestors, Gu Fei's idea was very simple. If they did not submit, then kill them. Simple and direct, there was nothing to say. At this time, Yen Lai had also seen Gu Fei's methods. This master of his would kill people at the slightest disagreement. Therefore, Yen Lai did not dare to be careless in front of Gu Fei. Gu Fei and Yen Lai returned to Yan Tian City without anyone noticing. The night was silent, The city was in chaos as soon as the sky brightened. Yan Shi had already returned long ago. As soon as the sky brightened, she impatiently sent people to search for Gu Fei in the city. This was because Gu Fei did not return to the city lord's mansion. Instead, he stayed at an inn in the city. When Yan Shi returned and did not see Gu Fei, she immediately panicked. That guy couldn't have left the Yan clan's small world like she had guessed, right? Yan Shi was also very clear about what the Yan clan was facing. The Yan clan's small world had already deteriorated to the extreme. At most, it could only hold on for another few hundred years before the Yan clan's small world collapsed. At that time, everyone in the small world would die, and the Yan clan would be exterminated. Yan Shi did not want to die, and even more so, did not want the Yan clan to be exterminated. Although she was not even an immortal god, she could still live for hundreds of years. The lifespan of the Yan race had always been very long. It was common to see elders who were hundreds of years old in the city. Because Gu Fei stayed in the inn at night, not many people had seen Gu Fei. Therefore, even though Yan Shi had turned the city upside down, she couldn't even see a shadow of Gu Fei. When Gu Fei came out to look for food, he was noticed by one of Yan Shi's men. City Lord, we found it, we found it! Yan Shi's subordinate ran back to report like a madman, even his shoes fell off. Found it? Where is it? Hearing this, Yan Shi pulled the guy over and yelled at him. It's at Foamlight Tavern. That person hurriedly said. Whoosh! Yan Shi disappeared on the spot. The surrounding subordinates only felt a strong gust of wind blowing against their faces. They were all dumbfounded. Did the city lord need to run so fast? Foamlight Tavern was just a small inn in Yantian City. What was this guy doing in a small inn? Yan Shi flew to Foamlight Tavern. City. The innkeeper was overjoyed when he saw Yan Shi. He was about to step forward and salute, but Yan Shi directly rushed into the inn, leaving the innkeeper in a daze. Haha, great benefactor, you are actually here. You really made me look for you. Yan Shi rushed into the inn and immediately saw Gu Fei, who was eating breakfast in the inn. Behind Gu Fei, there was also a servant standing respectfully. In fact, with Gu Fei's cultivation, the food of the human world was actually not essential to him. However, he had not seen people for a long time, so it was very rare for him to enjoy the food of the human world. And the servant standing behind Gu Fei was naturally Yan Lai. Yan Shi directly sat down at the table. Boss, a bowl of soybean milk, Yan Shi said loudly. After seeing Gu Fei, she calmed down. This guy had not left Yantian City yet. It seemed that he was still trustworthy. City Lord, your soybean milk! The innkeeper personally came up with the soybean milk. This was the city lord, a big shot that couldn't be invited normally. If he could curry favor with the city lord, then he would have a meteoric rise. Who is this? Don't you want to introduce him? Yan Shi glanced at Yan Lai, who was standing behind Gu Fei with his hands hanging down. He is your old ancestor, Gu Fei said with a smile. What? This kind of joke can't be made. Yan Shi frowned and said. I didn't say anything wrong. Gu Fei shrugged and said. Yan Shi couldn't help but stare at Yan Lai behind Gu Fei. You still haven't told the city lord who you are? Gu Fei held up the soybean milk and took a sip. This thing was really delicious. A warm current flowed directly into his abdomen and then spread around, making his whole body feel warm. Yes, master! Yan Lai immediately and cautiously stood up from behind Gu Fei. My name is Yan Lai. I am the 12th generation direct descendant of the Yan clan. What about you? Yan Lai looked at Yan Shi and said indifferently. What? Yan Shi heard this and was really shocked. The Yan clan's genealogy was still well preserved in the city lord's mansion. This guy was actually the 12th generation direct descendant of the Yan clan. How was this possible? Didn't the 12th generation clansmen disappear long ago? The Yan clan had been passed down for more than 300 generations. The 12th generation clansmen were naturally their old ancestor. Moreover, the gap in seniority was too big. How can you prove it? Yan Shi was depressed. TCH, do I still need to prove it? Yan Lai said and retreated behind Gu Fei, standing with his hands hanging down. Yan Shi was speechless. This guy actually disdained to prove his identity. What kind of rhythm was this? What was going on? Is he really my old ancestor? Yan Shi asked Gu Fei after a while. What do you think? Gu Fei smiled and didn't say much. At this time, a large group of people came outside the Feng Lai Inn. This group of people directly blocked the entrance of the inn, but they didn't rush into the inn. All of you, behave a bit. Yan Shi shouted towards the people outside the inn. Yes, yes, yes. Although the people outside the inn complied, it was still chaotic. After Gu Fei finished his breakfast, he said to Yan Shi, You go back and prepare, we'll leave in 3 days. So fast? Yan Shi was surprised to hear this. You think it's fast? Why don't you not leave? Gu Fei said indifferently. Go, 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 why don't we leave? Don't tell me we're going to stay here and wait for death? Yan Shi said and immediately got up to leave. Then, she rushed out in a hurry. 3 days, ah? Gu Fei only gave her 3 days. It wasn't easy to arrange for all the clansmen to leave this small world in these 3 days. However, since Gu Fei only gave her 3 days, then 3 days. Yan Shi immediately went to do it. In fact, the Yan clansmen in Flame Sky City already knew that the Yan clan's small world wouldn't last for long. Therefore, when Yan Shi shouted, everyone immediately responded. No one wanted to die. No one wanted the Yan clan to be exterminated. Thus, a strange scene appeared in Flame Sky City. Everyone was packing their things. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei couldn't help but secretly nod. That Yan Shi still had some prestige in the Yan clan. Everyone in Flame Sky City was packing their things. They were extremely busy, but Gu Fei was very leisurely. You ancestors don't care about their life and death? On top of Flame Sky City's city wall, Gu Fei said to Yan Lai. Hearing this, Yan Lai didn't know how to answer for a while. The clansmen in the Yan clan's small world had been abandoned by the ancestors. Yan Lai didn't have any feelings for these clansmen because they had been here for hundreds of generations. Moreover, for people like them who had almost endless lives, they didn't put these ant-like fellows in their eyes. The Yan clan here had already completely declined. There wasn't even a decent cultivator. You guys are very cold-blooded. Gu Fei helplessly shook his head. Yan Lai and these guys thought that they were high above, overlooking the common people. Who would have thought that they had completely forgotten their original intentions? Gu Fei still maintained his original intentions. Even the weakest creature was still alive and needed to be respected. However, what was the point of keeping people like the Yan clan's third-generation ancestor, who would kill people at the slightest disagreement? Those guys thought that they could control the life and death of others. Who would have thought that Gu Fei could also control their life and death? Hearing this, Yan Lai didn't dare to speak. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. All the people of Yantian City had packed their luggage and were then summoned by Yan Shi to the square in the city, ready to leave this damned place. Gu Fei came with Yan Lai. How is it? It's okay, right? Yan Shi greeted them. Not bad. Gu Fei looked at the densely packed people in the square and nodded. Yan Shi was very proud. Yes, you seem to have misunderstood. Gu Fei shook his head helplessly. What did you say? Yan Shi was startled when she heard this. Today, I'll let you see what's called great magical power. As Gu Fei said this, he raised his right hand. A ball of divine light immediately rushed out from his hand, shrouding the entire small world in an instant. Rumble! The entire small world shook. All the people in the square were incomparably frightened, not knowing what was going on. Then, the edge of the entire small world unexpectedly collapsed. The void distorted, and then merged into another larger world. The entire small world was absorbed into Gu Fei's inner world and became a part of it. Powerful heaven and earth power and vast heaven and earth spiritual qi immediately rushed into this area from all directions, and the withered flowers, plants, and trees regained their vitality. In Yan Shi's view, this scene was simply inconceivable. In a very short period of time, their small world had undergone earth-shaking changes. The entire world was full of vitality. How was this possible? Weren't they going to leave this part of the world? What did Gu Fei do? In their eyes, this was simply a miracle. But in Yen Lai's eyes, Gu Fei had swallowed and refined a part of the world with a raise of his hand. Chapter 5440. It was as easy as lifting a finger for Gu Fei to save the people of the Yen tribe. At this moment, in the Yen tribe's Yantian city, countless clansmen of the Yen tribe who had gathered on the square were dumbfounded. They had no idea what was happening. The entire world seemed to have changed. The sky became clearer and a godly sun hung high up in the sky, radiating scorching light. How is this possible, godly sun? The legendary godly sun? The people in the Yantian city were in an uproar because the godly sun was a legendary thing. In the Yen tribe's small world, there was no godly Sunday. Forget about the godly sun, there was not even a star. However, in the Yen tribe's small world, there was still the alternation of day and night. A godly sun appeared high up in the sky. What was going on? The world has changed? Yen Shi was also dumbfounded. This is my world. I am the ruler, Gu Fei said proudly. This is your world? Yen Shi was even more shocked when she heard this. It seemed that she had severely underestimated Gu Fei. This guy was many times stronger than she had imagined. That's right. This guy was someone who could enter the Yen tribe's small world from the outside. Over the years, no one could enter the Yen tribe's small world. All right, you guys can live here. Don't worry about the place not being big enough. This is an almost perfect world. There are also powerful living beings here, Gu Fei explained to Yen Shi. Gu Fei's inner world had been refined by him for countless years. It had nurtured countless living beings and many humans lived here. This was also the place where his army of death was stationed. Of course, his army of death was only stationed in a certain area of this world. In the depths of this world, the immortal divine medicine grew. It was also the place where the divine spring of life was located. Therefore, this inner world was extremely important to Gu Fei. It was his trump card. This inner world would only collapse when Gu Fei truly died. As long as Gu Fei didn't die, his inner world would continue to exist. When Gu Fei arrived at the boundary wall of the limitless realm, his body had exploded twice. However, he hadn't truly perished either time. Therefore, his inner world hadn't been affected much. Alright, that's all. I'll be leaving first. I'll come and chat with you again when I'm free. Gu Fei is about to take Yen Lai and leave. Because he really could not wait any longer. Since the flame race could survive the great destruction of the flame world and had survived for so long in the pocket world, then the other factions in the flame world might be able to survive as well. Therefore, he wanted to continue walking on the wasteland to see if he could find other survivors. Don't go, I'm not familiar with this place. Yen Shi was anxious and pulled Gu Fei's sleeve. I see. Gu Fei thought for a moment, and then pointed a finger at Yen Shi's forehead. In the next moment, a thought entered Yen Shi's mind. In an instant, countless things appeared in Yen Shi's mind. The sudden addition of these things directly confused her. By the time she comes back to her senses, Gu Fei and Yen Lai are long gone. Cultivation method? Yen Shi was surprised and overjoyed. The things that Gu Fei had inserted into her mind included cultivation methods. Moreover, she also learned some things about this world. This world was truly created by Gu Fei. Moreover, this world was many times larger than the flame race's pocket world. The laws of the world here were also extremely powerful. Therefore, the beings that were born here were also very powerful. If they encountered those beings, the flame race wouldn't be enough. At this time, what Yen Shi didn't know was that some powerful beings had already entered the flame race's territory. The flame race's pocket world was smelted into Gu Fei's inner world and turned into a small region. This region was called Yen Province. This Yen Province was the territory that Gu Fei had bestowed to the flame race. The beings in the surrounding regions were naturally curious about the sudden appearance of this region. However, the heaven and earth spiritual energy in this region was too thin. Some truly powerful beings disdain to set foot in such a region. However, those birds and beasts also directly broke into this region. Swoosh! Soon, a huge shadow flew over the sky of Yantian City. This made Yan Shi and the others inexplicably shocked. This is not a good place. Yan Shi and the others immediately prepared for battle. The entire Yantian City became busy again. This outcome made everyone in the city very satisfied. They didn't need to move or leave their homes. This made everyone heave a sigh of relief. Roar! Soon, the faint roars of wild beasts came from afar. This caused Yan Shi to be extremely shocked. Those birds and beasts were really fast. Just as Yan Shi mobilized the people in the city to protect Yantian City, Gu Fei and Yan Lai appeared on the wastelands of Flame World again. Gu Fei's thinking was too simple. He and Yan Lai carefully searched the wastelands, but they couldn't find a hidden pocket world in the void. How is this possible? Even Yan Lai felt it was inconceivable. He directly brought Gu Fei to the mountain gate of a former super sect in Flame World. This super sect had once ranked in the top 10 of Flame World, and was one of the strongest super factions. Even the Flame race's strength could not compare to this super sect. This super sect was called Longevity Sect. However, when Gu Fei and Yan Lai arrived in front of the mountain gate of the Longevity Sect, they discovered that the mountain gate of the Longevity Sect had already collapsed long ago. Only a broken stone lion remained standing beneath the entire mountain gate. Gu Fei had no worries and directly walked into Longevity Sect. Yan Lai was very wary of this place. He carefully followed behind Gu Fei. As one of the former top 10 super factions of Flame World, the ancestral land of Longevity Sect was not a good place. This place was once covered with layers of formations. But now, the countless formations that had enveloped the Longevity Sect had vanished into thin air. However, the buildings here were better preserved compared to other places. Maybe the ancestral land of Longevity Sect protected the buildings here to a certain extent when Flame World was destroyed, but the power of destruction was too strong. Even though the ancestral land of Longevity Sect was covered with layers of super formations, it was still completely destroyed. That is, halfway up the mountain, Gu Fei saw a skeleton lying among the rocks on the side of the mountain path. Flame World had been destroyed for countless years, but this person's bones were still preserved. He must have had cultivation above the extreme Tao when he was alive. Even Longevity Sect couldn't escape the fate of destruction? Chapter 5441. The Flame World was destroyed and turned into an endless wasteland. There was not a trace of life here. Everything had turned into ruins. There was nothing in the entire wasteland that was intact. Everything was destroyed. The destructive power of this world was terrifying to the extreme. Gu Fei and Yan Lai walked on the wasteland. They wanted to find other people hiding in the small world, or other living beings. However, they wandered around the wasteland for a long time and did not find even a strand of hair. At this time, Gu Fei and Yan Lai came to the ancestral land of the Longevity Sect, one of the 10 super forces of the Flame World. This place was once the holy land of cultivation in the hearts of the billions of living beings in the Flame World. In the past, countless people in the Flame World were proud to be able to enter the Longevity Sect. However, the Longevity Sect was very strict in accepting disciples. Not everyone could enter the Longevity Sect. Even some geniuses had the danger of being eliminated in the Longevity Sect's entrance examination. However, the current Longevity Sect had become ruins. It was not until Gu Fei reached halfway up the mountain that he found a corpse. There's nothing special about this skeleton. After Yan Lai carefully examines the skeleton, he picks up a jade tablet beside it. This jade tablet did not have a trace of spirit light. The spirit energy had long since disappeared. Hong Xian? Yan Lai turned over the other side of the jade tablet, and saw 2 ancient characters engraved on the jade tablet. You know him? Gu Fei glanced at the corpse on the ground. Hong Xian, that was an elder of the Longevity Sect. Yan Lai sighed. An elder of the Longevity Sect had died here. It seemed that it was not easy for the people of the Longevity Sect to survive. Gu Fei did not say anything and continued to walk up the mountain. Soon, he found a second corpse. It was also a skeleton. Everything on this skeleton had decayed, leaving only a skeleton. He continued to walk up. Then, Gu Fei and the others saw more and more corpses. They even saw an immortal corpse, vivid and lifelike. Even the blood on its wounds had not dried. Early eternal level? When Gu Fei saw the corpse nailed to the stone wall by a spear, he couldn't help but frown. Such a powerful fellow was nailed to death by a spear just like that. This was a powerhouse of the Eternal Realm. The Eternal Realm was many times more powerful than the Extreme Tao Realm. Those who could kill early-level eternal existences had to be at least mid-level eternal existences. As for those who could easily kill early-level eternal existences, they had to be at least at the large perfection Eternal Realm. Its ancestor Hongyang. He died here. Yen Lai was extremely shocked when he saw that person. There weren't many Eternal Realm experts among the Yen clan's old ancestors. However, there were many Eternal Realm experts among the Longevity sect's old ancestors. Old Ancestor Hongyang was an early-stage Eternal Ancestor of the Longevity sect. An early-stage Eternal Realm expert would be one of the strongest even in the undestroyed Flame world. Did someone destroy the Longevity sect? Yen Lai said with incomparable shock. What's so surprising about that? Gu Fei said disapprovingly. However, he seemed to smell the scent of a conspiracy. The destruction of the Flame world and the Longevity sect being killed at their doorstep. None of this seemed simple. It was as if there was a hidden hand behind all of this. It couldn't be Sacred Lord Void Sky's doing, right? Gu Fei suddenly thought of a person. In order to return to the limitless realm, this person would really do anything. With Sacred Lord Void Sky's cultivation, although it would be difficult to destroy the entire Flame world, it wasn't impossible. One had to know that back in the Void Realm, the limitless Demon Lord had laid down a super grand array using the stars. That super grand array of the limitless Demon Lord could possibly destroy the entire Void Realm. Thinking of this, Gu Fei couldn't help but sweat on his forehead. If it was really Sacred Lord Void Sky's doing, then Sacred Lord Void Sky was really crazy. However, that person seemed to be a man. Master, give this body to me. Yen Lai saw that the body of Ancestor Hongyang was still in good condition, and couldn't help but be overjoyed. Right now, he just lacked a body of flesh and blood. This Ancestor Hongyang was a powerful early-stage Eternal Realm expert. Ancestor Hongyang's Tao body was extremely powerful. If you want to save it, go get it yourself. Gu Fei had no interest in these corpses. Thank you, Master! Yen Lai was overjoyed and directly rushed over. He pulled out the battle spear that was nailed to Ancestor Hongyang's body. Even after countless years, this battle spear still emitted a weak fluctuation of power. Amazing! Yen Lai was shocked. Even the destructive power of the Flame world couldn't erase the spirituality of this battle spear. This battle spear was really extraordinary. Although Ancestor Hongyang's body was still in good condition, it was just a corpse. The Tao power contained in the corpse had almost been completely erased. This way, Yen Lai could enter this Tao body. Ancestor Hongyang's divine soul had already dissipated for countless years. Yen Lai's entry into this Tao body was very smooth. When he succeeded in taking over this Tao body, the wounds on the Tao body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Picking up a Tao body for free, Yen Lai was naturally very happy. By the time Yen Lai succeeded in taking control of this Tao body, Gu Fei had already climbed to the peak of the Longevity sect's ancestral mountain and stood in front of a collapsed hall. On the square in front of the collapsed hall, there were mountains of bones densely packed with corpses. Seeing this scene, even Gu Fei couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. At this time, he no longer had any doubts. Someone definitely destroyed the entire Longevity sect. Who destroyed the entire Longevity sect? This was something that happened countless years ago, and no one knew about it. When Yen Lai arrived behind Gu Fei and saw the scene in front of him, he was directly stunned. This scene was too shocking. However, although Gu Fei was curious, he also knew that this kind of secret definitely involved a great secret of heaven and earth. It was not that easy to figure out. Even the small world of the longevity sect was destroyed. Let's go! Gu Fei shook his head helplessly, then took a step forward and directly left the longevity sect because there was nothing he was looking for here. Yen Lai hurriedly chased after him. With the longevity sect destroyed, Gu Fei took Yen Lai to another Super Force's ancestral court. This is the abyss of 9 underworlds, Gu Fei said to Yen Lai beside him. This? Yen Lai looked at the abyss of 9 underworlds in front of him, and didn't know what to say. This abyss was unavoidable when the flame world was destroyed. The originally huge abyss was now just a slightly deeper ravine. So it wasn't like this. Yen Lai's forehead was sweating. The original abyss of 9 underworlds was a forbidden area in the flame world, the territory of the 9 underworld race. The 9 underworld race was a superforce that could compete with the longevity sect. However, at this time, there was not even a trace of Yin energy in this so-called abyss of 9 underworlds. Did I come for nothing again? Gu Fei sighed. The so-called 10 superforces of the flame world seemed to be a joke. Maybe the 9 underworld race was also destroyed by that mysterious person. Gu Fei released his divine sense. His divine sense directly penetrated into the ground and into the stratum. Very soon, Gu Fei sensed that his spiritual force had entered a huge space. With Gu Fei's current great perfection cultivation, there was no power in this wasteland that could stop his divine sense. Deep underground, there was a huge space. You guard up there, Gu Fei said and directly jumped down the ravine in front of him. Then, he punched the ground and rushed into the ground. This? Yen Lai couldn't help but be shocked. Gu Fei quickly went underground and soon, he was in this underground space. Damn! Gu Fei's spiritual will instantly enveloped the entire space. This huge space was actually a skull, an incomparably huge skull. The entire enormous space was under the protection of this skull. At the center of this space, there was a floating bone palace. It was a hall built entirely out of bones. Countless skeletons floated around this bone palace. None of these skeletons were complete. There were also many broken weapons floating in the air. It seemed that a great battle had occurred here. Did the people of the 9 underworld race also die? When the flame world was destroyed, there was also a mastermind attacking the super forces. It was too difficult to survive. With Gu Fei's current cultivation, he had nothing to fear and directly walked forward. Wherever he passed, the floating bones were dispersed by the ripples of yuan qi that emanated from his body. He directly came to the bone palace. The door of the bone palace was wide open. It was pitch black inside. Gu Fei, on the other hand, had already seen the situation inside. It was empty, with nothing inside. Wait! Gu Fei suddenly found something lying quietly on the ground of the bone palace. A bone flute. With a thought, Gu Fei disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already inside the bone palace. Gu Fei went to pick up the bone flute. The moment his fingers touched the bone flute, the entire bone palace suddenly shook violently. A terrifying destructive power exploded. Boom! With a loud sound, the entire bone palace actually exploded. Destructive power erupted and the entire enormous space shook violently from the impact. Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared one after another in the void. Even Yen Lai, who was on the cliff outside, felt the ground beneath his feet shake. What happened? Yen Lai said in shock. At this time, in the underground space, destructive power filled every inch of space. The bone palace was actually a trap, and the bone flute in the bone palace was one of the mechanisms that triggered the trap. If someone touched the bone flute on the ground, the entire bone palace would explode. Chapter 54-42. Before the destruction of the flame world, there were many powerful races. There were 10 of the strongest super factions in the flame world. But now, it seemed that these super factions were in danger. Because even the longevity sect had been destroyed. At this time, Gu Fei came to the territory of another super faction. This superfaction was the 9 Underworld race. The 9 Underworld race was definitely one of the top 10 superfactions in the Flame world. They were so strong that even the Longevity sect was slightly weaker than them. Gu Fei found an enormous space hidden under the ground by the 9 Underworld race. This huge void was actually inside a huge skull. This caused Gu Fei to be very shocked. There was actually someone who had refined a skull into a void. With Gu Fei's cultivation, he naturally had no worries in this wasteland. He directly entered this space and found another bone palace. There was nothing much to say. He directly entered this bone palace. When he wanted to pick up a bone flute on the ground, he triggered a mechanism of the bone palace. Boom! With a loud noise, the entire bone palace exploded. The eruption of destructive power instantly engulfed Gu Fei. This destructive power spread out and filled every inch of this space. All the bones floating in this space were shaken into dust. So it's a trap! A voice sounded in the destructive energy storm. Then, a figure walked out of the destructive storm, holding a bone flute in his hand. He was Gu Fei. This level of power could not harm him at all. At this time, a powerful devouring power appeared on Gu Fei's body. All the surrounding destructive power gathered towards Gu Fei and was devoured into his body. In just a few seconds, all the destructive power in this space was completely devoured by Gu Fei. You didn't die even like this? At this moment, a spiritual fluctuation appeared in this part of the void. There are still people from the 9 Underworld race alive, Gu Fei said. Humph! The divine will sneered. In the next moment, the entire space trembled again. Then, the huge skull actually moved. As soon as the skull moves, the people outside immediately jump up. Yanlai hastily rushes to the sky. Rumble! Clouds of dust rose from the ground. The ground cracked and sank, and an incomparably huge skull slowly rose from the ground. An extremely terrifying wave of yuan qi appeared between heaven and earth. Seeing this scene, Yanlai was immediately stunned. This skull was simply too huge. It was countless times bigger than a mountain ridge, and an incomparably huge crater appeared on the ground. The aura emanating from the skull was earth-shattering. It was the demonic chi unique to the 9 Underworld race. The monstrous demonic chi enveloped the entire sky, causing the entire wasteland to tremble. This was definitely a big guy. I'm not your enemy. Gu Fei was inside this guy's space, but his face was still calm. Although this big guy was very strong, in his eyes, it was only a little stronger than an ant. This big guy was in existence in the Eternal Realm. Even if it was an intermediate Eternal Realm existence, it was still trash in Gu Fei's eyes. After searching for so long in the wasteland, Gu Fei finally found something. However, this time, he found a guy from the 9 Underworld race. He really didn't have a good impression of the demons. The Limitless Demon Lord was his sworn enemy. Of course, Gu Fei had no enmity with the 9 Underworld race here. Rumble! The world shook. The huge skull rising from the ground emitted a mighty demonic chi, covering the entire sky. One after another, demonic chi fell from the skull like a huge dragon. It was incomparably terrifying, and the demonic nature made Yanlai's heart palpitate. If you're not my enemy, then who is? The spirit ripple appeared again. TCH, I can kill you with a snap of my fingers, Gu Fei said coldly. Then try and kill me, the spirit ripple said disdainfully. Sigh. Gu Fei had no other choice but to slap his right palm to the side. Boom! With a loud noise, Gu Fei's palm directly blasted a big hole in the huge skull. What? The spirit ripple was shocked. This person's combat power was so powerful that he could punch through the skull with one palm. It seems that this person was not lying. Do you believe me now? Gu Fei said indifferently. Who the hell are you? The spirit ripple roared. Who I am is not important. What's important is that I'm not your enemy. Gu Fei stood with his hands behind his back. When it's time to show off, then show off. Then what are you doing here? Are you here to play? The spirit ripple said loudly. I'm here to look for survivors. Gu Fei did not hide his purpose. In the entire wasteland, there were very few living beings that could survive. So far, Gu Fei had only found people from the Yen clan. Now, he had found survivors from the 9 underworld race. Looking for survivors? The spirit Ripple was still suspicious of Gu Fei's purpose. If I want to kill you, it's just a matter of raising my hand. If I'm your enemy, would I waste my breath on you? Gu Fei said helplessly. The spirit Ripple stopped talking. That's someone from the Yen clan? The spirit Ripple spoke again. There's someone from the Yen clan who survived? The spirit Ripple was shocked. That's my slave, Gu Fei said. What? He's your slave? The spirit Ripple was speechless. You're going to be my slave soon. After saying that, Gu Fei took a step forward before disappearing into the void within the skull. What did you say? The spirit Ripple was taken aback. At this time, Gu Fei has already appeared in front of the giant skull. Master! Yen Lai, who had retreated far away, saw Gu Fei appear and was immediately overjoyed. He had long been scared by the skull that came out of the ground to the point that his legs went soft. He almost turned around and ran away. You want me to be your slave? The skull was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. Rumble! In the midst of the loud noise, huge bones broke through the ground and rushed out. These bones directly flew together, and a huge skeleton appeared between heaven and earth. This skeleton was really too big. Its head reached the sky and its feet touched the ground. The skeleton's eyes and mouth constantly spewed out devil chi. Endless devil chi lingered around the skeleton's body. TCH, I also know this move, Gu Fei said as he shook his body. His whole body suddenly became bigger, and his height was actually comparable to the skeleton. This was a worldly Dharma idol. For Gu Fei, such a magical power was nothing more than a trifle. You! When the skeleton saw this scene, it jumped in fright. Want to fight? I advise you not to look for abuse. Gu Fei shook his head and sighed. You, go die! The skeleton said as it punched towards Gu Fei. However, before the skeleton's fist could hit, Gu Fei's foot flew up and kicked the incomparably huge skeleton away. Boom! The huge skeleton fiercely smashed into the ground, causing the ground to shake. The skeleton slid on the ground for some distance, causing dust to fly up. How is this possible? The skeleton was shocked to the extreme. Nothing is impossible! Gu Fei descended from the sky, and his foot came crashing down towards the skull of the skeleton. The skeleton turned over, dodging Gu Fei's foot, and then stood up from the ground. Its right hand swept out, directly sweeping towards Gu Fei's waist. However, the moment the skeleton's arms swept out, Gu Fei's figure disappeared. *T! The skeleton was taken aback. In the next moment, Gu Fei's right leg had already swept fiercely on its skull, directly kicking the skull away. Boom! The huge skull was directly kicked thousands of miles away by Gu Fei, directly smashing into the ground, creating a huge pit. I told you that you're no match for me, and you still don't believe me. You're looking for abuse, Gu Fei said indifferently. You! The skeleton was both shocked and furious. However, he couldn't refute Gu Fei because he was the one who asked for it. It could not blame anyone else for asking for it. The skeleton was extremely depressed. The skull directly flew back to the body of the skeleton. However, Gu Fei did not want this guy's head to return to the body. He flew up again, once again kicking the skull thousands of miles away. Damn it! The skeleton was furious. However, the other's fists were harder than its own, and it could not do anything to the other. Next, it was Gu Fei's turn to abuse the skeleton. Soon, the skeleton could not bear it anymore and directly begged Gu Fei for mercy. Gu Fei directly used a seal and shot a forbidden art into the skull's forehead. This way, he would not have to worry about this guy betraying him. The skeleton was an ancestor of the 9 Nether race, extremely powerful. Due to this ancestor had been able to lead everyone into the little world when Flame World was destroyed. The skeleton ancestor had been guarding the ancestral lands of the 9 Nether race, waiting for an opportunity to act. However, he had guarded for countless years, and no one had come. Finally, a human had come today, but this guy was strong enough to ignore his existence. "Open the little world you've guarded for countless years," Gu Fei ordered. "Yes, yes, yes." At this time, the skeleton ancestor no longer had the domineering aura from before. Right now, he was practically a coward. "However, Master, the item to open the little world is in your hands," the skeleton ancestor said. "In my hands? This bone flute?" Gu Fei said with some surprise. "Yes, this is the bone flute." The skeleton ancestor hurriedly nodded. "How do I use this thing?" Gu Fei examined the bone flute. "Master, give the bone flute to this lowly one. This lowly one will open the little world for you," the skeleton ancestor hurriedly said. "Here." Gu Fei directly threw the bone flute in his hand to the skeleton ancestor. Chapter 54-43. The heavens did not disappoint those who persevered. Gu Fei and Yan Lai searched the wasteland for survivors. When they found the 9 nether races' territory, they finally found a survivor. This survivor was a little special. He was a giant skeleton. This skeleton was actually in the middle stage of the eternal realm. Of course, this was also why this skeleton ancestor was able to survive the destruction of Flame World. The skeleton ancestor had survived the destruction of the world, but he couldn't resist Gu Fei. After being ruthlessly beaten by Gu Fei, the skeleton ancestor had no choice but to admit defeat. He had to admit defeat to the end. If he didn't submit, he would die. The skeleton ancestor had even survived the destruction of the world. He naturally wasn't willing to die like this. To the skeleton ancestor, living was more important than anything else. After Gu Fei planted a forbidden technique on the skeleton old ancestor, the skeleton old ancestor completely submitted to him. The people of the 9 nether race hid in a small world to take refuge. The 9 nether race's small world was called the 9 nether small world. It was a true nether world. There was only one way to open the 9 nether small world, and that was to blow the bone flute or have the skeleton ancestor, the 9 nether race's ancestor, open it himself. Since he had the bone flute in hand, the skeleton ancestor naturally wouldn't use the second method to open the 9 nether small world. At this time, the bone flute in the skeleton ancestor's hand sounded on its own. The void in front of the skeleton ancestor immediately trembled. Soon, a door of light appeared in the void. "Why isn't anyone coming out?" the skeleton ancestor said in surprise. "It can't be the same as the flame race, right?" Yan Lai said. Whoosh! The skeleton ancestor directly rushed into the door of light. He had guarded the 9 nether small world for countless years and had never opened it even once. He didn't know what was going on in the 9 nether small world. Gu Fei furrowed his brows and took a step forward, entering the netherworld's small world. Yan Lai thought about it. Although he was hesitant, his master, Gu Fei, had entered the 9 nether small world. How could he not follow behind his master? Thereupon, he braced himself and entered the netherworld's small world. The instant Gu Fei entered the 9 nether small world, a deathly aura assaulted him. The entire 9 nether pocket world was dark and gloomy. The entire pocket world was enveloped in a layer of terrifying death aura. From time to time, huge demonic shadows would appear in the void and then dissipate in the void. It was something that floated between heaven and earth like a ghost. Why is there such a thing here? At this moment, the skeleton old ancestor was shocked to the extreme. This thing was extremely strange and horrifying. It was something that was formed from the remnant consciousness of a supreme being who had perished. This demonic shadow had no emotions and only knew how to devour living beings. When Gu Fei appeared in the 9 nether pocket, traces of demonic chi immediately rushed towards Gu Fei. The demonic chi condensed and a demonic shadow immediately appeared in front of Gu Fei, directly pouncing towards Gu Fei. "Master, be careful!" When the skeleton old ancestor saw this scene, he couldn't help but feel shocked. If Gu Fei died, he would also be buried with him. After all, his life was linked with Gu Fei's. However, the skeleton old ancestor was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. If Gu Fei died, he would be buried with him. If he died, nothing would happen to Gu Fei. After all, Gu Fei was his master. Bam! When the demonic shadow was 3 feet away from Gu Fei, it directly exploded, turning into strands of demonic chi that dissipated in the void. What's going on? When the skeleton old ancestor saw this scene, he was instantly stunned. These demonic shadows actually couldn't get close to Gu Fei. As an old ancestor of the Nine Nether clan, he naturally knew how powerful these demonic shadows were. Even he would have to take a detour if he encountered them. The strands of demonic chi quickly condensed again, and the demonic shadow appeared in the void once more. The demonic shadow once again rushed towards Gu Fei. Bam! With another muffled sound, the demonic shadow once again exploded 3 feet away from Gu Fei. At this time, Yan Lai also came in. Then, the demonic shadow condensed once again. This time, the demonic shadow directly pounced towards Yan Lai. What's going on? Yan Lai was indescribably shocked. He didn't know the details of this demonic shadow, so he directly dodged it. However, the demonic shadow chased after Yan Lai like a shadow. Master, what the hell is this? Yan Lai kept moving quickly in the void, but even with his extreme Dao rank cultivation, he couldn't get rid of the demonic shadow's entanglement. This somewhat surprised Gu Fei. It's just some remnant thoughts fused together and transformed into a foreign species. Gu Fei was able to see through the demonic shadow with a single glance. This demonic shadow was indestructible. Of course, it wasn't an easy thing to destroy these strange things. However, if Gu Fei wanted to destroy these things, he had at least a dozen methods. However, it was impossible for Yan Lai to destroy this demonic shadow. Because with Yan Lai's cultivation, he simply didn't have this ability. Therefore, Yan Lai could only be chased by this demonic shadow to the heavens and into the earth. He was in an incomparably sorry state, but he couldn't do anything about it. Master, save me! Yan Lai didn't dare to let this demonic shadow pounce on him. He had just obtained a corporeal body, and he didn't want to lose it so soon. Yan Lai shouted and rushed towards Gu Fei. Get lost! With a wave of Gu Fei's right hand, the demonic shadow that was unwaveringly chasing Yan Lai directly exploded in the void, turning into a mass of demonic chi. However, within the demonic chi, countless demonic threads were entangled and intertwined. Soon, the demonic shadow appeared in the void again. However, because of Gu Fei's obstruction, Yan Lai successfully escaped to Gu Fei's side. At this time, because Gu Fei's body emitted a strong vitality, it unexpectedly attracted a lot of demonic shadows. The whole world became dusky. However, Gu Fei simply didn't care about these demonic shadows. It seems that everyone here is dead, Gu Fei said gloomily. Since such a strange creature had appeared in the Nine Nether small world, naturally, no one would be able to survive. This was because these things didn't have any intelligence, and only knew how to kill. As long as one was pounced on by these things, even an extreme-grade supreme expert would die. Therefore, it was very likely that the people in this so-called Nine Nether small world had already been devoured by these demonic shadows. What? The skeleton ancestor was greatly alarmed when he heard this. In the next moment, he disappeared into the void without a trace. Follow me, and don't wander around, Gu Fei said and walked forward at a moderate pace. Nine Nether City was the headquarters of the Nine Nether race in the Nine Nether small world. The skeleton ancestor naturally went to Nine Nether City. Chapter 5444. As Gu Fei walks in the dusky world, more and more specters appear around him. Master, we're surrounded. Yan Lai looks at the specters around him in shock. There are hundreds of specters around him. How can there be so many specters here? Gu Fei is very strong, but Yan Lai still doesn't dare to take him lightly. It must be known that these specters can threaten the existence of an extreme Tao Supreme. What are you afraid of? I'm here, so don't be so nervous, Gu Fei says indifferently. Those specters only surround Gu Fei's group, but they don't pounce on Gu Fei's group. This makes Yan Lai very curious. In the end, How did the master do it? Gu Fei leads a large group of specters towards Jiuyou City. This scene is absolutely shocking, because there have never been so many specters gathered together in the Jiuyou microworld. Soon, a huge city appears in front of Gu Fei and Yan Lai. There is no sign of life coming from the huge city, which makes Gu Fei a little unhappy. It seems that his guess is right. The people of the 9 underworld race are probably all dead. Just as Gu Fei arrives in front of the gate of Jiuyou City with a large group of specters, a ball of divine light suddenly appears high in the sky. This ball of divine light directly breaks through the layer of devil chi in the sky and shines in all directions. The specters surrounding Gu Fei and Yan Lai are illuminated by the divine light descending from the sky. One by one, they dissipate into the void, turning into devil threads that rush into the ground. It turns out that these specters are afraid of the divine light in the sky. What's going on? Yan Lai looks at this scene in shock. Soon, all the specters disappear. The entire Jiuyou microworld is also illuminated. The devil chi that shrouded the entire microworld is also dispelled, and the whole world is bright. This microworld actually has a god's son? Yan Lai looks up at the ball of divine light in the sky, inexplicably shocked. What's so strange about it? Gu Fei said disapprovingly. The ball of divine light in the sky was not a real divine sun. It was just a slightly larger divine pearl. Someone used great magic power to refine such a divine pearl and embedded it high up in the sky. This divine pearl could not move. On the other hand, the real divine sun in the world could move and move according to its trajectory in this world. The netherworld small world also had the alternation of day and night, and the alternation of day and night was completed by the divine pearl in the sky. This small world was still far from being a real big world. Just as this part of the world shone brightly, countless life auras suddenly appeared in Jiuyou City. That works? When Gu Fei sensed the aura of life in Jiuyou City, his eyebrows couldn't help but twitch. It was really a case of finding a village at the darkest hour. Rumble! The heavy city gates slowly opened, and a group of people rushed out of the city. The one in the lead was the skeleton ancestor that Gu Fei had just subdued. Behind the skeleton ancestor was a large group of people from the Netherworld tribe. What surprised Gu Fei was that these people from the Netherworld tribe were all experts, and there were even 2 eternal realm existences among them. Among these people from the Netherworld tribe, there were quite a number of supreme realm experts, a total of 9. However, this kind of strength was much weaker than the Yen tribe. After all, the Yen clan still had a half-step peerless realm expert. However, there weren't any half-step peerless stage experts among the Netherworld race's experts. Quick, come and greet the master. The skeleton ancestor led a group of people to greet Gu Fei. Greetings, master! The people from the Netherworld tribe all knelt to greet Gu Fei. Gu Fei was a little surprised to see this scene. In such a short time, the skeleton ancestor had brainwashed these people? They actually all submitted to him? Very good. Get up! Gu Fei said with a wave of his hand. Thank you, master! The people from the Netherworld tribe all stood up. In fact, Gu Fei didn't know what kind of bitter life these people from the Netherworld tribe lived in the Netherworld small world. Because of the existence of those strange demonic shadows, the people from the Netherworld tribe were like rats. They hid underground at night, and only came out during the day. Moreover, it wasn't always safe during the day. Because there were accidents during the day when demonic chi enveloped the heavenly pearl, those demonic shadows would immediately come out. In the eyes of the people from the Netherworld tribe, those demonic shadows were terrifying death gods that had reaped the lives of the people from the Netherworld tribe for countless years. Otherwise, why would the Netherworld tribe only have so few people left? In fact, if Gu Fei and the others hadn't come, they wouldn't have been able to hold on for much longer. The number of demonic shadows kept increasing, and some of them could even enter the Netherworld city at night. This was because the defensive formation of the Netherworld city had become unstable in the past few thousand years. Therefore, Gu Fei was simply a savior to the people of the Netherworld tribe. In fact, the skeleton old ancestor didn't need to waste his breath. The people of the Netherworld tribe immediately submitted to Gu Fei. After successfully subduing the Netherworld tribe, Gu Fei was in a good mood. He didn't stay idle either. He directly refined the entire Netherworld small world into his own world and turned it into the Underworld province. The Underworld province was the territory of the Netherworld tribe. Under the illumination of the true divine sun, the undying remnant consciousness in the Underworld province completely disappeared. Those demonic shadows became a thing of the past. No one from the Netherworld tribe expected their master to be so powerful that he could resolve a huge problem for them with a simple gesture. The people of the Netherworld tribe were even more grateful to Gu Fei. Just as Gu Fei was refining the Netherworld small world, the wasteland suddenly shook violently and a spatial crack appeared in the void above the wasteland. Countless figures rushed out from the spatial crack. After that, the entire wasteland underwent a shocking change. A divine spring of life appeared on the wasteland and a powerful life aura spread out in all directions with the divine spring of life as the center. After the first divine spring of life appeared, the second divine spring of life also emerged from the ground. Spiritual energy soared into the sky and the vitality of the entire wasteland recovered quickly. The wasteland that had been silent for countless years actually started to recover. A total of 9 divine springs of life appeared on the wasteland, and the concentration of spiritual energy in the entire wasteland increased rapidly. A world that was already destroyed and lifeless was actually regaining its vitality and reviving. Just what was going on? At this time, the wasteland became lively. One by one, the small worlds hidden in the void opened up, and the forces that came out from those small worlds started to fight for the divine springs of life. Very quickly, the 9 divine springs of life had a master. When Gu Fei came out of his own world after settling the people of the Netherworld tribe, he was dumbfounded by the scene on the wasteland. What's going on? Who can tell me what's going on? Gu Fei was really speechless. He was trying his best to find survivors before, but who would have thought that these survivors would jump out on their own? Master, this. Yen Lai is also scared silly by this scene. Go and find out what's going on, Gu Fei said to Yen Lai. Yes, master. Yen Lai immediately went to find out. This guy was the old ancestor of the Yen clan. In the distant past, he knew a lot of experts and quickly found out. Master, the world is starting to recover. Yen Lai came back and said with a solemn expression. What do you mean by that? Could it be that this wasteland can recover? Can it evolve into a new world? Gu Fei was really speechless. A super world was already on the decline, yet such a super world could recover? Was there such a thing? He had never seen a destroyed world recover on its own. Divine spring of life? When Gu Fei sensed the existence of the divine spring of life, he really couldn't help but be moved. Could this be the reason for the wasteland's recovery? At this time, the battle for the 9 divine springs of life was still going on. All the forces were envious of the divine spring of life and wanted to obtain it. As a result, many of the guys who just came out of the small world died. Do you want to come out and fight for hegemony? Gu Fei suddenly said to Yen Lai. Master, this slave wants to. I hope Master can fulfill my wish. Yen Lai hurriedly said. I will fulfill your wish. Gu Fei waved his right hand and the old ancestors of the Yen clan immediately appeared in the void in front of him. Soon, these old ancestors of the Yen clan who were still sleeping were awakened by Gu Fei using a special method. After the old ancestor of the Yen clan woke up and learned the cause and effect of the matter, he directly attacked Gu Fei, wanting to kill Gu Fei. However, in the next second, this old ancestor was beaten like a dog by Gu Fei. Then, the entire upper echelon of the Yen clan submitted. They had no choice but to submit. Even the strongest old ancestor of the Yen clan was beaten like a dog by Gu Fei. The others naturally became obedient. Soon, the Yen clan attacked. Their opponent was the primordial Meng race, one of the 10 great forces of the flame world. The primordial Meng race was extremely powerful and had already occupied a divine spring of life. However, the Yen clan wasn't weak either. Moreover, they had the support of Gu Fei. Yen clan, what do you want? Can't you follow the rules? An old ancestor of the primordial Meng race roared at Yen Wu. "Tch, Hong Yi, you despicable bastard, how dare you talk about rules in front of me?" Yen Wu said disdainfully. "Just do it," Hong Yi said and immediately attacked. "Do you think you have teeth to bite me?" Yen Wu sneered and went forward. The two experts were locked in a fierce battle. These two guys were in the extreme Dao realm. This battle caused quite a commotion and alerted the other forces. However, the other forces just watched the show and had no intention of interfering. Gu Fei was also watching the show. He never thought that the wasteland would recover one day. Chapter 54-45. The awakening of the wasteland and the shaking of the earth gave Gu Fei hope. He wanted to find sacred Lord Su Tian for revenge. He originally thought it was hopeless. Who would have thought that the destroyed world would awaken? At this time, Yen Wu and Hong Yi started fighting. "You will die a horrible death if you dare to target our divine spring of life," Hong Yi said coldly. The extreme Dao Yuan Qi in his body surged, and a layer of crystal light flowed on his skin. He gave off the feeling that he was invincible. "Che, who do you think you are? I will leave your corpse intact." Yen Wu was extremely confident. His gaze was like lightning, and an extremely obscure and dangerous aura was emitted from his body. He took a step forward and suddenly appeared in front of Hong Yi like a phantom. After that, he directly threw a punch at Hong Yi. Astral wind suddenly rose, vast and mighty. This was a simple and unadorned punch, but it had an unbelievable power that could turn something rotten into something miraculous. Hong Yi found it difficult to block, and he couldn't even retreat. Hong Yi's heart shook. This guy's cultivation seemed to be stronger than before the flame world was destroyed. Plus, he controlled the rhythm of the battle with one move and forced Hong Yi into a passive position. Yen Wu wasn't just an expert, he was also an expert with rich battle experience. Even though he had been in slumber for countless years, his battle experience wouldn't disappear. "Roar!" Hong Yi let out a furious roar. Since he couldn't avoid it, there was no need for him to do so. He threw out a punch as well. In an instant, the golden light was like a tidal wave, rushing towards Yen Wu's fist with an extremely imposing aura. Hong Yi's first move was the golden element fist. As he punched out, a golden light immediately surged out from his body, causing him to look like he was wearing a golden armor. It was impossible to look at him directly. "It's the five-element fist." Gu Fei, who was watching the battle from afar, was surprised. The primordial chaos race also cultivated the five-element theurgy. Actually, in any world, the power of the five elements was the most basic power of heaven and earth. Therefore, it wasn't strange that countless beings cultivated the power of the five elements. However, this Hong Yi of the primordial chaos race used the five-element fist. It only surprised Gu Fei a little. Bang! The two fists collided in an instant, and a transparent ripple visible to the naked eye spread out from the point of impact. The entire space seemed to shake. Two silhouettes flew backward like lightning, and then collided with each other like two bolts of lightning. Boom! The two of them punched each other again. There was nothing fancy about it. This was purely a collision of strength. Continuous attacks, muffled like thunder, shook the sky and earth. The two extreme Dao experts were like phantoms, emitting terrifying energy fluctuations as they moved rapidly in the air, engaged in an intense battle. Everywhere it passed, rocks were sent flying and the ground cracked. It was incomparably terrifying. Extreme Dao realm powerhouses were still very destructive in this wasteland. Metal fist! Hong Yi let out a low roar and threw another punch towards Yen Wu. Resplendent metal elemental energy seemed to have enveloped the entire heaven and earth. Waves of air swept towards Yen Wu with earth-shattering force. Reverse the universe! Yen Wu's hands moved, and a mysterious and strange aura appeared between his hands. A strange fluctuation was emitted along with the trajectory of his strokes. Buzz! The void shook and twisted. The metal fist force that swept towards Yen Wu was completely swallowed by the void. In the next moment, the force rushed out of the void. The metal element fist force that rushed out from the void actually blasted back at Hong Yi. Gu Fei was shocked to see this. Yan Wu's move was very similar to the Chaos Reversal Secret skill, one of the 9 secrets of Immortal Path. However, Gu Fei knew that the divine power that Yan Wu displayed was definitely not the Chaos Reversal Secret skill. Hong Yi was also shocked. He did not expect that Yan Wu could actually reverse his fist force. This was simply equivalent to the fist force of his metal fist being returned to him. How is this possible? The surrounding powerhouses could not help but be shocked to see this scene. When did Yan Wu cultivate such a divine power? He was able to give Yan Wu a taste of his own medicine and reverse his opponent's attack. It was really terrifying. If Yan Wu mastered such a divine power, wouldn't he be in an invincible position? The fist force that was reversed was turbulent and unstoppable. The golden radiance was dazzling, and in an instant, it rushed to the front of Hong Yi. Preposterous! Hong Yi's long hair danced in the wind as if he had gone crazy. Yan Wu actually used his own strength to attack him. This shocked and angered him. He did not dodge or evade, but threw another punch forward. This punch was also the metal fist, but it was different from the previous one. This punch seemed to have triggered the endless power of the metal element in the heaven and earth. All of it surged forward with earth-shattering force. It was majestic and unstoppable. Boom, boom, boom! The 2 monstrous fist forces collided in an instant. The ground within a radius of a few thousand miles cracked, as if doomsday had arrived. A figure flew out from the explosion of the golden wave. Hong Yi was really depressed to the extreme. He was actually repelled by his own strength. It was really frustrating. Yan Wu was unparalleled. He reversed the universe and no technique could touch him. Yan Wu's display of this kind of divine ability stunned many people. Haha! Don't resist pointlessly. Just die obediently. Yan Wu laughed heartily as he strode through the void, chasing after Hong Yi, who was sent flying backwards. In fact, the Yen clan chose to attack the Grand Mist Divine race because the Yen clan and the Grand Mist Divine race were enemies. Before the Flame World was destroyed, the 2 clans had been fighting endlessly. Hong Yi was forced back, but his battle intent was still strong. His body emitted a piercing golden radiance as the power of the metal element covered his body. Although he was at a disadvantage, Yan Wu couldn't really hurt him. Gu Fei couldn't help but nod when he saw this scene. There were still many brave warriors in the Grand Mist Divine race. Golden Sun shattering heaven. Hong Yi unleashed his ultimate move. Although he was retreating, a ball of divine light rushed out of his body like a divine sun and blasted towards Yan Wu, who was chasing after him. Watch me capture the golden sun in one net. A cruel smile appeared on Yan Wu's face. He retreated quickly and waved his hands. Countless lines of fire instantly spread out in the air, forming a huge fire net that flew towards the divine sun net. Hong Yi's golden sun was like throwing itself into the net. Hong Yi was dumbfounded. The golden sun he shot out was actually caught by his opponent in one net. After that, there was nothing else. His divine sun was directly refined by his opponent. Again. The fire net appeared once again and fell on Hong Yi's head. Are you still not going to die this time? Yan Wu was inwardly pleased. Since he personally took action, he naturally won. However, before he could rejoice, his expression changed. Just at this moment, Hong Yi actually directly charged into Yan Wu's fire net and blasted out a punch towards the fire net that enveloped him. There was no glaring light rushing out, no strong energy wave. It was just an ordinary punch. However, under Yan Wu's incredulous gaze, a huge hole was blasted in Yan Wu's fire net. While Yan Wu was still in shock, Hong Yi moved like a phantom and instantly appeared in front of Yan Wu. Without any hesitation, Hong Yi directly punched towards Yan Wu's chest. Reverse heaven and earth. Yan Wu shouted loudly and waved his hands. That strange power once again gushed out from his hands and formed a frightening void domain. Hong Yi didn't dare to be careless. He had made a mistake just now. He had underestimated Yan Wu. Hong Yi was also very familiar with Yen Wu. Before Yen World was destroyed, they had fought and Yen Wu had always been at a disadvantage. But now, Yen Wu had actually cultivated such a strange and mysterious mystique that could actually reverse his attack. Hong Yi couldn't help but look at him in a different light. Hong Yi was an extremely experienced person after all. He quickly thought of a way to deal with Yen Wu's move. Yen Wu is going to be unlucky. Gu Fei, who was watching from afar, said. At this time, Yen Wu's ever-victorious mystique actually failed. He couldn't move Hong Yi's fist force at all. Hong Yi's fist force was as immovable as a mountain. Yen Wu was shocked. Bang! Hong Yi's fist landed on Yen Wu's chest. In that instant, his fist force erupted like a volcano. Wah! Yen Wu spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. Humph, you're not the only one who cultivated a mystique. I have also cultivated a fist art. Moreover, this fist art of mine is specialized in breaking your mystique. Hong Yi sneered. Although these people had hidden in the pocket dimension before Yen World was destroyed, they hadn't been idling. Even when they were asleep, they could still practice their mystiques and battle techniques in their sea of consciousness. Haha, trash of the Yen race, scram back to where you came from. Otherwise, today will be the day your race is annihilated. Another ancestor of the primordial chaos divine race walked out with a loud laugh. At this time, Yen Lai rushed out and caught Yen Wu, who was flying back. Yen Wu's injuries weren't light. His entire chest had collapsed from Hong Yi's punch, and his chest was stuck to his back. Of course, this was only an injury on his Dao physique. The real injury was the destructive fist force that had invaded Yen Wu's body. The fist force was still wreaking havoc in Yen Wu's body, destroying his vitality. Yen Lai tried to force the fist force out of Yen Wu's body, but he was nearly injured by the fist force. An Eternal Realm Yen race's ancestor finally managed to force the fist force out of Yen Wu's body. Yen Hui, how about we spar? The primordial chaos divine race's ancestor stared at the Yen race's ancestor who had helped Yen Wu force out the fist force. Humph! The Yen race's ancestor named Yen Hui sneered. He didn't say anything, nor did he have any intention to make a move. He immediately retreated. Haha, since when did the Yen race's people become cowards? The primordial chaos divine race's ancestor sneered. Chapter 54-46. An already destroyed world actually recovered. Such a thing made Gu Fei feel a little incredulous. This flame world wasn't just an ordinary destruction. Instead, the entire world shrank and turned into a ball. Even the starry sky and earth were tightly compressed together. This way, all living beings in the flame world would be squeezed to death. Only experts at the extreme grade and above could break the shackles, but they still couldn't escape the fate of death. That Yen Lai was able to retain a strand of his divine sense. It was already lucky that his soul hadn't been completely destroyed. If other experts wanted to survive, there was only one way, and that was to hide in their own small world and completely close it. Now, those who hid in the small world unexpectedly returned at the same time. The divine spring of life actually appeared on the wasteland. It was the endless death energy that condensed after the death of countless living beings. It was a supreme life force born from extreme death. 9 divine springs of life appeared on the huge wasteland. The wasteland's life force quickly recovered. Oases began to appear near the divine springs of life. Those who hid in this small world were like supreme rulers. They descended on the wasteland and began to encircle and occupy it. The people of the Yen clan were all defeated by Gu Fei. Gu Fei subdued them all. This made the old ancestors of the Yen clan almost die from anger. However, there was nothing they could do. It was better to live than to die. Moreover, only by living would there be hope. However, from a certain point of view, submitting to Gu Fei wasn't a bad thing. Gu Fei was strong enough. The half-step old ancestor of the Yen clan naturally didn't dare to submit to Gu Fei. Therefore, he jumped out to challenge Gu Fei. The result was that the old ancestor of the Yen clan was directly knocked out by Gu Fei. knocking out an old ancestor with one slap, and a half-step old ancestor at that. This made the old ancestors of the Yen clan dumbfounded. Then, everyone in the Yen clan became obedient to Gu Fei, who told Gu Fei's fist to be harder than theirs. Gu Fei had long since seen through this point. Regardless of the world, whoever's fist was stronger would be the boss, and they would be able to decide everything. The Yen clan and the Grand Mist Divine race were archenemies. Hence, the Yen clan had set their sights on the divine spring of life that was occupied by the Grand Mist Divine race. However, it wouldn't be easy to snatch the divine spring of life from the hands of the Grand Mist Divine race. What a bad start! The first battle between the Yen clan and the Grand Mist Divine race ended with the Yen clan's defeat. The Yen clan had no choice but to retreat. "TCH, you dare to have designs on our god race with just this bit of ability? You must be tired of living," one of the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors sneered. "Don't underestimate the Yen clan. Their strength is still there. That Yen Wu is just a little guy." The Grand Mist Divine clan's ancestors were sitting cross-legged near the divine spring of life, greedily devouring the boundless vitality emitted by the divine spring of life. To these super old-timers, such pure life essence was more useful than any miraculous spirit pill. The divine spring of life was the source of the Grand Mist Divine race's confidence. "We didn't complete our mission. Please punish us, Master." The group of old ancestors of the Yen clan came before Gu Fei and knelt down. "Forget it. The Grand Mist Divine race had the upper hand. It's not your fault," Gu Fei said indifferently. The primordial chaos divine race was guarding the divine spring of life. Hence, their ancestors were able to recover very quickly. As for the Yen clan's ancestors, they were hiding in an alternate void. They relied on absorbing spiritual energy to maintain their cultivation. How could they be a match for the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors? "Get up," Gu Fei said. Yes. The Yen clan's ancestors finally dared to stand up. "It's just the divine spring of life," Gu Fei said as he waved his right hand. A spatial crack appeared in the void, and a powerful life aura rushed out from the crack. "This is..." The Yen clan's ancestors were shocked when they sensed the life aura. The life aura coming from the spatial crack was much stronger than the life aura from the divine spring of life that the Grand Mist Divine race had occupied. "What's going on?" The Yen clan's ancestors exclaimed in shock. "Go in. I'll give you 3 days to train with the Grand Mist Divine race," Gu Fei said. "Yes, Master." The Yen clan's ancestors were excited. "Master is giving us a chance to settle the score with the Grand Mist Divine race, ah!" Then, the old ancestors of the Yen clan entered the world behind the spatial crack one by one. 3 days was enough for them to recover to their peak condition. After the patriarchs of the Yen clan had entered his inner world, Gu Fei waved his right hand and the spatial crack in the void disappeared. Following that, Huang Xiaolong headed to the Grand Mist Divine race's territory. A streak of light strolled through the Grand Mist Divine race's territory. The Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors were shocked and enraged. "Where did this bastard come from?" Gu Fei walked through the Grand Mist Divine race's territory as though there was no one there. Everywhere he went, the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors couldn't help but attack Gu Fei. However, all their attacks were useless against Gu Fei. Even a primogenitor of the Grand Mist Divine race's attack was neutralized by Gu Fei. Gu Fei's boundless martial physique was like a bottomless pit that devoured all the attacks from the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors. The Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors were terrified. Fortunately, Gu Fei left after circling around their territory. The ancestors of the Grand Mist Divine race heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that Gu Fei didn't attack them. After leaving the Grand Mist Divine race's territory, Gu Fei appeared in the Grand Mist Demons' territory. "Where did this lunatic come from? He dares to barge into my race's territory alone?" The Grand Mist Demons' ancestors sneered and ridiculed Gu Fei when they saw him. However, in the next moment, the Grand Mist Demons' jaws dropped to the ground as they stared at Huang Xiaolong walking right into their defensive formation. "How is this possible?" The Grand Mist Demons' ancestors were dumbfounded. Huang Xiaolong had walked right through their defensive formation and headed straight for the heavenly spring of life they were guarding. How could they do that? The Grand Misdemon's ancestors attacked Huang Xiaolong together. Various kinds of demonic weapons flew towards Gu Fei. However, Gu Fei didn't even make a move. All the demonic weapons flying towards him were sent flying away. What? The Grand Misdemon's ancestors were scared out of their wits. Gu Fei didn't say anything. He continued to stroll around the Grand Misdemon's territory before leaving. On this day, all the forces in the wasteland were visited by the same person. Then, all the forces in the wasteland knew that a nearly invincible existence had appeared. All the forces in the wasteland felt immense pressure. Chapter 54-47. Gu Fei walked on the wasteland and visited all 9 divine springs of life. These divine springs of life were the creation of the world, life born from extreme death. 9 divine springs of life had appeared at once. Even Gu Fei's expression changed slightly. Because the presence of life contained in these 9 divine springs of life was too great, and the 9 divine springs of life had just been formed. The 9 divine springs of life had great room for growth. The appearance of divine springs of life on a wasteland was of great significance. This meant that this wasteland had a chance to recover. Flame World had been destroyed for countless years, but at this time, this wasteland had life again, and had a chance to grow into a world again. For the survivors of Flame World, this was a chance for them to rule the world. They were the first group of beings to recover from this world. They were the progenitors of this world. But now, an unforeseen event had occurred. A fellow who had popped out of nowhere was actually able to enter and exit their territory as he pleased, as though there was no one there. Also, all of their attacks could not do anything to this person. The primordial chaos demons, the primordial chaos god race, and all the surviving factions were shocked. No one knew the origins of this person. No one knew the origins of this person. There was definitely no such person in Flame World. Was he in existence from that legendary world? Many people speculated that if this person really came from that world, then it was not a good thing for them. The destruction of Flame World was not a coincidence. There was a hand secretly pushing all of this. The super factions of Flame World suspected that the destruction of Flame World was the handiwork of someone from that world. However, they did not have any evidence. However, there was a mysterious faction that had attacked the other super factions of Flame World when Flame World was destroyed. Longevity Sect had been destroyed by that mysterious faction. Because of this, the surviving factions of Flame World strengthened their defenses. No one dared to underestimate Gu Fei because they were greatly frightened by Gu Fei. However, in the next 3 days, Gu Fei seemed to have disappeared. He did not appear in the sights of the surviving factions of Flame World. However, the surviving factions of Flame World did not relax because of this. 3 days later, Gu Fei appeared in the seclusion grounds of the Yen clan's patriarchs. Gu Fei's inner world had transformed to a near-perfect state, and there was also the divine spring of life in his inner world. His divine spring of life was not inferior to the divine spring of life in the wasteland. At this time, the fire race's old ancestors were sitting cross-legged on the rocks around the divine spring of life. They were absorbing the life essence of the divine spring of life. Not bad! Gu Fei appeared above the divine spring of life. He immediately sensed the changes in the bodies of the Yen clan's ancestors. Compared to 3 days ago, these fellows' life force was several times more exuberant. These guys had almost recovered. Wake up! Gu Fei said. His voice was like a morning bell. It directly woke up the forefathers of the Yen clan who were in a deep meditative state. Master, greetings, Master! The Yen clan's old ancestors were shocked when they saw Gu Fei. They hastily knelt on the ground. 3 days are up. You should go out, Gu Fei said indifferently. Master, it's already 3 days? Yen Lai said with dissatisfaction. He wanted to continue cultivating like this, but he knew it was impossible. They were lucky to be able to cultivate here for 3 days. Gu Fei did not speak. He waved his right hand in the air. In the next moment, a spatial crack appeared in the void. Then, he waved his hand again, and the Yen clan's old ancestors immediately disappeared from his inner world. One after another, powerful auras appeared on the wasteland, alerting the surviving forces, especially the ancestors of the Grand Mist Divine race. They were very familiar with these powerful auras. They were the old fellows of their mortal enemies, the Yen clan. This is troublesome. The Grand Mist race's old ancestors knew they were in deep trouble. As expected, the Yen clan's old ancestors killed their way to the Grand Mist race's territory. This time, the Yen clan's old ancestors seemed different. "Hong Yi, come out and die!" The Yen clan's ancestor Yen Wu stepped out to challenge the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestor Hong Yi. "You've lost to me, yet you still dare to come forward to die." Hong Yi rushed out of the Grand Mist race's formation. "Ha, the one dying today isn't me. It's you." Yen Wu laughed. In the past 3 days, not only had his injuries healed, but his cultivation and battle strength had also increased. This was definitely a blessing in disguise. "How is this possible?" When Hong Yi sensed the Yen clan's old ancestor's aura, his face changed. He had just injured this guy 3 days ago. In such a short time, not only had his injuries healed, but his cultivation and battle strength had also increased. "Humph! Cut the crap! Kill!" Yen Wu didn't bother speaking nonsense with his sworn enemy. He took a step forward and sent a fist flying towards Hong Yi. "Golden Sun Fist!" Hong Yi didn't dare to delay, and he immediately used his ultimate move, Golden Sun Fist. Boom! 2 fists smashed into each other in an instant. 2 fist energies exploded, and 2 figures were sent flying backward. "You!" Hong Yi couldn't help but be shocked. Yen Wu was actually evenly matched with him. How was this possible? 3 days ago, he had punched this guy in the chest, and this guy's chest was stuck to his back. "Haha, aren't you surprised?" Yen Wu laughed as he charged towards Hong Yi. The 2 figures moved at high speed in the void, and an intense battle broke out. At this time, the Grand Mist race's old ancestors rushed out. Since when did Yen Wu's cultivation and battle strength rise to such a level? The Grand Mist race's old ancestors' faces turned solemn when they saw Yen Wu fighting with Hong Yi. Since the Yen clan dared to come here, they must have something up their sleeves. At this time, Gu Fei was watching the show from afar. The Yen clan's old ancestors' cultivation had improved in the past 3 days, especially Yen Wu. He had improved a lot. Chapter 54-48. The Yen tribe once again attacked the Grand Mist Divine race's territory. After 3 days of recuperation, the Yen tribe had obtained many benefits from Gu Fei's inner world. The Yen tribe's ancestors' cultivation had increased, and their battle strength had recovered to its peak. The current Yen tribe was strong, and their morale was high. Yen Wu stepped out and challenged one of the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors, Hong Yi. Bam! Boom! Muffled collisions resounded, and the void shook. Although the Yen world had been destroyed and turned into a huge wasteland drifting in the chaotic void, some laws of heaven and earth still remained. The entire wasteland emitted an invisible force that repelled the chaotic qi in the surroundings. This huge wasteland was originally lifeless, but with the emergence of the divine spring of life, this world of death was filled with vitality. Moreover, this vitality was getting stronger and stronger. In just a short while, the area where the divine spring of life was located was filled with lush vegetation, turning into an oasis full of vitality. Of course, the flowers and trees here were actually brought out by the survivors from their own little worlds. The life energy of the divine spring of life was the most suitable for the growth of all kinds of vegetation. Some of the survivors even brought out birds and beasts. At this time, Gu Fei was watching the show from afar. There was no need for him to fight for territory. If the Yen tribe couldn't even deal with the Grand Mist Divine race, then they were really useless. "Loser, since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." Hong Yi attacked with all his might. The metal element fist force burst forth from his fists. Every single punch he threw out caused the entire void to collapse in a terrifying manner. However, Yen Wu was no longer the Yen Wu from 3 days ago. The current him was brimming with battle intent, and his strange mystique deflected all of Hong Yi's fist force. "Ha ha, you want to kill me? Just you?" Yen Wu sneered as he attacked. "It seems like only a fierce dragon can cross the river." The other experts who were watching the battle from afar all stared at the two extreme Dao realm experts. In the past, extreme Dao realm experts were considered experts in the Yen world. Now, the Yen world had become a thing of the past. Extreme Dao realm experts were in high demand now. There were very few survivors right now. Only 5 of the 10 strongest factions in Flame World had managed to escape the calamity of annihilation. Of course, there were also other forces that were lucky enough to survive this calamity. Yen Wu and Hong Yi, these two fellows fought until the sky turned dark and the earth turned dark. They were evenly matched. It was not an easy thing for them to determine the victor. "How long are we going to fight for?" A figure walked out from the Fire Clan's side. He was the Yen Clan's patriarch, Yen Hui. He was in existence at the peak of extreme Dao, and his cultivation was far above Yen Wu and Hong Yi. "Bastards of the primordial clan, who wants to come out and fight? Those in the eternal realm, there's no need to come out." Yen Hui shouted at the Grand Mist Divine Race's ancestors. "Humph, let me try you." A figure rushed out from the midst of the Grand Mist Divine Race's ancestors. "Hong Jin? It's you?" Yen Hui was excited when he saw who it was. He had wanted to beat this guy up for a long time. "Kill!" Yen Hui didn't waste any more words. He directly threw a punch at Hong Jin. The grayish fist energy covered the sky and ground as it headed towards Hong Jin to destroy him. "Yen Hui, you lunatic!" Hong Jin was shocked when he saw Yen Hui attack. He did not even bother to say anything. The two experts started to fight. Subsequently, the Yen clan's ancestors stepped out one after another, and the Grand Mist clan's ancestors also stepped out to fight. In a short time, outside the Grand Mist clan's territory, the Yen clan's ancestors and the Grand Mist clan's ancestors were locked in battle. The Yen clan's ancestor, Yen Huatian, did not participate in the fight. His opponent was the Grand Mist Divine Race's ancestor, Hong Xing. Yen Huatian was an expert at the half-step peerless realm, and the Grand Mist Divine Race's Hong Xing was also a half-step peerless realm expert. The two of them were facing off in the sky. The experts who were watching the battle nearby were actually paying attention to Yen Huatian and Hong Xing. After all, the battle between Yen Huatian and Hong Xing was going to be the deciding battle. The outcome of the battle between Yen Huatian and Hong Xing would decide who the divine spring of life belonged to. Of course, if Gu Fei wanted the divine spring of life, no one would be able to stop him. Unless Sacred Lord Su Tian returned from the Limitless Realm to fight with him. However, Sacred Lord Su Tian had finally returned to the Limitless Realm. Why would he leave the Limitless Realm again? It was almost impossible for an existence like Sacred Lord Su Tian to return after leaving the Limitless Realm. After returning to the Limitless Realm, Sacred Lord Su Tian would never leave the Limitless Realm again. It would be difficult for Gu Fei to see Sacred Lord Su Tian again. "Hong Sheng, what are you waiting for?" Yen Huatian said to Hong Xing. "Yen Huatian, what are you waiting for?" Hong Xing asked. "You two old farts, hurry up and fight. Don't waste our time." Suddenly, a voice came from afar, and a demonic figure appeared in front of everyone. "Hong Meng Demon's old MO?" Yen Huatian and Hong Xing were stunned when they saw that person. This was the ancestor of Hong Meng demons, who was no weaker than them. He was still alive. "Hong Xing, why don't we get rid of this old MO first, and then fight to the death?" Yen Huatian said to Hong Xing suddenly. "That's what I was thinking." Hong Xing nodded. "You!" Hearing this, the demonic shadow's expression immediately changed. These two fellows couldn't be for real, right? Die! Hong Xing and Yen Huatian roared and attacked the ancestor of Hong Meng demons, Mo Batian. "Are you crazy?" Mo Batian was shocked and angry. In the next moment, he retreated. What a joke! These two guys were half-stepped to the Limitless Realm. How could he be a match for them now that they had joined forces? However, Hong Xing and Yen Huatian chased after him like a shadow. When the surrounding experts saw this scene, they were dumbfounded. What was going on? Were they messing around? No one had expected that Yen Huatian and Hong Xing would join forces at this time. These two guys really know how to play. Gu Fei couldn't help but laugh when he saw this. Mo Batian was a ruthless character, but he had to turn around and escape. For an existence like Mo Batian, if he wanted to escape, no one would be able to stop him. Of course, this was under the premise that Gu Fei didn't attack. If Gu Fei attacked, Mo Batian wouldn't be able to escape at all. Mo Batian escaped. Okay, it's our turn now, Yen Huatian said to Hong Xing. Okay, let's fight! Hong Xing nodded his head. He was very straightforward as he directly attacked Yen Huatian. Chapter 5449. The unbounded sword god was practically invincible in this wasteland. If Gu Fei didn't make a move, these fellows would be able to dominate an area. However, it was a pity that Gu Fei was here. Therefore, these guys could only be unlucky. However, Gu Fei did not want to fight with these guys personally. He directly subdued the Yen clan. The Flame race was one of the 10 strongest factions of the Flame world before it was destroyed. The Flame race surviving the calamity of the world was largely due to luck. When the great tribulation of heaven and earth broke out, whether one could survive or not depended on luck. Although the Yen clan survived, apart from the old ancestors of the clan, the rest had become ordinary people. Yen Shi and the others were not even immortals. Of course, although Yen Shi and the others were not immortals, their ancestors were after all world-shaking great figures. They inherited the bloodline of these great figures, so even if they were not immortals, they could still live for hundreds of years. Some members of the Yen clan could even live for thousands of years and become thousand-year-old antiques. However, in the Yen clan, there were very few thousand-year-old antiques. Gu Fei could not count on Yen Shi and the others. A group of ordinary people like them could not help Gu Fei at all. Of course, Yen Shi and the others had a lot of room for growth. In the future, they would definitely become immortals or even great mediums. However, this needed time. Because no one could become a great medium in an instant. Boom! At this time, on the wasteland, outside the territory of the primordial divine clan, 2 powerful auras were colliding. The entire void was shaking and countless spatial ripples spread in all directions. Are they finally going to fight? Gu Fei, who was hiding in the distant sky and watching the show, muttered to himself. The surrounding spectators were also extremely excited. No matter if it was Yen Huatian or Hong Xing, they were all peerless experts. Even before the Flame world was destroyed, they were almost invincible existences. A battle between experts of this level, no matter when it was, would always be an incomparably sensational event. However, what made people speechless was that Yen Huatian and Hong Xing were still confronting each other. They had no intention of fighting at all, which made countless spectators very disappointed. Why aren't you fighting yet? How long is this standoff going to last? The spectators nearby were getting impatient from waiting. On the other hand, the battle between the Yen clan and the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors was intense, with both sides winning and losing. The 2 races had fought for countless years, and they were evenly matched. It was difficult for either side to defeat the other. It wasn't easy for the Yen clan to defeat the Grand Mist Divine race and seize the divine spring of life. Similarly, it wouldn't be easy for the Grand Mist Divine race to defeat the Yen clan and protect their divine spring of life. Furthermore, the outcome of the other patriarchs would not determine anything. The battle that would determine the ownership of the divine spring of life would be the one between Yen Huatian and Hong Xing. However, the 2 of them were not anxious at all. The standoff continued. 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, 2 days, 10 days. The Flame clan and the Grand Mist Divine race's ancestors had come to an end, but the 2 of them were still locked in a standoff. This confrontation could be said to be world-shaking. Then, the Yen clan and the Grand Mist Divine Race's ancestors fought until both sides suffered. However, the two of them were still locked in a standoff. Even the experts who were watching the battle nearby retreated one after another. They couldn't keep wasting time here. It should be known that everything in the wasteland had been destroyed. Everything needed to be rebuilt. Moreover, the battle for the divine spring of life didn't stop. Originally, only 5 of the 10 strongest factions in the flame world had survived the calamity. However, there were 9 divine springs of life in the wasteland. The Grand Mist Divine Race occupied 1, the Grand Mist Demons occupied 1, the Yen Clan occupied 1, the Yen Clan occupied 1, the Demon Race occupied 1, and the Grand Mist Human Race occupied 1. The other 5 divine springs of life were occupied by other factions. Apart from the 5 strongest factions, the other factions weren't weak either. Some factions had joined forces to occupy a divine spring of life. What all the factions needed to do now was to occupy the divine spring of life, lay a foundation, and smoothly pass on their legacy. If the Yen clan had chosen to attack the weaker factions, they would have occupied a divine spring of life by now. However, the Yen clan had offended the Grand Mist Divine Race, and they had clashed with the Grand Mist Divine Race. "What are you waiting for?" Gu Fei was getting impatient and sent a voice transmission to Yen Huatian. "Yes, master!" Yen Huatian didn't dare to delay. His master was getting impatient. If he continued to stay in a standoff with Hongxing, his master would be unhappy. "What did you say?" Hongxing, who was on the other side, couldn't help but be startled. This guy actually had a master? How is that possible? "Kill!" Yen Huatian took advantage of the moment when Hongxing was distracted to make a move. This was an opportunity that an existence like him would definitely not miss. They had been in a standoff for so long. Weren't they waiting for each other to reveal a flaw? Now, Hongxing finally revealed the flaw. In fact, Hongxing was staring at Yen Huatian. Yen Huatian's sudden words were too shocking. This guy was Yen Huatian, the Yen clan's old ancestor. Although Yen Huatian had only said a single sentence, 3 words, those 3 words were too shocking. The Yen clan's old ancestor actually had a master. Who was qualified to be Yen Huatian's master? Just thinking about it made his scalp tingle. Yen Huatian was a half-step to the Peerless Power Realm. Wouldn't his master be a true Peerless Power Realm expert? Boom! Hongxing was sent flying by Yen Huatian's punch. Yen Huatian's attack was like a storm, unstoppable. Hongxing had lost the initiative and was being suppressed by Yen Huatian. The old ancestors of the Grand Mist Divine Race were scared out of their wits. If Hongxing was defeated, the divine spring of life would no longer belong to them. At this time, the old ancestors of both the Yen clan and the Grand Mist Divine Race were either injured or crippled. Both camps had lost old ancestors. The area outside the Grand Mist Divine Race's defensive array was a mess. The destruction caused by this level of fighting was really shocking. Of course, this was the wasteland, so nothing had been destroyed by these guys. They finally started fighting. Some people who were still watching the fight were surprised and happy. This was a fight between half-step to the Peerless Power Realm experts. Powerful essence chi rippled in all directions. Countless experts were immediately alarmed. Chapter 5450. A great battle between half-step infinite powers broke out in the wasteland. This was the strongest battle since the wasteland's revival. Both Yen Huatian and Hongxing represented the strongest combat power in the wasteland. Apart from Gu Fei, there was no other infinite prime in the wastelands for now. Of course, no one knew if there were other infinite powers in the wasteland. Even Gu Fei did not dare to say that there were no such existences in the wasteland. One had to know that before he met Sacred Lord Void Sky, Gu Fei didn't even dream that the legendary Sacred Lord Void Sky was actually an old man who had plotted against him. Gu Fei was furious when he thought about how Sacred Lord Su Tian had plotted against him and used him to enter the Infinite Realm. He had to find a way to enter the Infinite Realm and find Sacred Lord Su Tian to take revenge. If he did not take revenge, He would be traumatized for the rest of his life, which would affect his cultivation. Therefore, Sacred Lord Su Tian had to die, and he had to kill her. At that moment, the sky was dark. Hundreds of millions of miles away, the chaotic air was vast and mighty. It was the chaotic void. Two figures were moving quickly in the void. Dull sounds of collisions were constantly heard, and powerful waves of vital chi spread in all directions. Even the chaotic air hundreds of millions of miles away was violently shaken by the impact. This was the terror of a half-step infinite powers expert. Even in the wasteland, the destructive power of such an existence was shocking. Of course, both Yan Huatian and Hong Xing were trash in front of Gu Fei. It would be as easy as flipping his hand for him to kill them. Everyone was paying attention to this battle, as it would decide who the divine spring of life belonged to. That was the divine spring of life, which was something that countless people would go crazy for. A single divine spring of life was enough for a force to pass on for countless years. As long as there were no accidents, the forces that possessed the divine spring of life would have many experts. They would never lack experts. This was because the divine spring of life could create countless experts. This was also why so many people were desperate to get their hands on the divine spring of life. Go down! Yan Huatian roared and used his trump card. A huge flaming hand appeared in the void and slapped Hong Xing down from the sky. Boom! With a loud bang, a huge palm print appeared on the incomparably hard ground, causing dust to fill the air. The earth undulated like waves. Roar! A furious roar came from the ground, and a powerful force exploded. The palm print on the ground exploded, and a figure rushed out from the ground. However, at that moment, a vine rushed out of the ground and wrapped itself around Hong Xing. What? Gu Fei's eyes suddenly lit up as he watched the battle from afar. Even someone as strong as Hong Xing couldn't avoid the vine that had rushed out of the ground. He was immediately entangled by the vine and pulled into the ground. Old ancestor! The members of the Grand Mystivine race turned pale with fright when they saw this. If something were to happen to Hong Xing, the entire primordial divine tribe would be finished. This would be a devastating blow to the primordial divine tribe. The Grand Mystivine race couldn't afford to lose Hong Xing. This was because Hong Xing was the only existence in the Chaos Divine race who was a half-step to the infinite prime realm. Hong Xing panicked. He slashed at the vine door with his hand, and a sharp light blade rushed out of his hand. This hand blade was more powerful than a real divine weapon. However, when Hong Xing's hand blade slashed at the vine door, it didn't even break the skin of the vine. How is this possible? Hong Xing's shock was no small matter. An infinite prime realm creature? Gu Fei muttered to himself. He hadn't expected such a powerful creature to suddenly appear. This guy seemed to be hiding underground. Could it be that the battle between Yan Huatian and Hong Xing had alerted this guy? Just as Hong Xing was about to be pulled into the ground by the vines, a beam of divine light flashed from afar. The cold light flashed past the vines, and the vines fell immediately. Master, why? Yan Huatian looked in the direction where Gu Fei was, puzzled. Among everyone present, only Gu Fei could save Hong Xing. Therefore, the person who had saved Hong Xing had to be Gu Fei. Swoosh! The vine that had been cut by the cold light broke through the ground and burrowed into the ground. The broken vine also retracted into the ground. Hong Xing was pleasantly surprised that his life had been spared. You want to leave? Gu Fei descended from the sky, broke through the ground, and entered the ground. He felt an aura rushing into the depths of the ground, and it disappeared in an instant. So fast! Gu Fei didn't dare to delay. He broke through the layers of the ground and chased after it. When the flame world was destroyed, it didn't explode into dust. Instead, the entire world shrank into a ball and turned into a huge wasteland. The ground of the wasteland was extremely hard. The deeper one went, the harder the ground became. It was even harder than divine iron. However, this didn't stop Gu Fei. Gu Fei went straight into the depths of the ground. After passing through a layer of extremely hard ground, Gu Fei actually entered a huge space. This space was actually a small world full of vitality. In the center of this small world, there was an incomparably huge divine tree. This divine tree was even emitting a faint divine light. An extreme Tao-level aura spread out from this divine tree. Tree demon? Gu Fei was a little surprised. You are the demon. Your whole family are demons. A wave of divine consciousness spread from the divine tree, and a voice sounded in Gu Fei's mind. He, if you aren't a demon, then who are you? Gu Fei crossed his arms and looked indifferently at the towering divine tree in front of him. This divine tree supported the entire small world. What made Gu Fei feel strange was that with the divine tree's cultivation, how could it only create such a small world? There seemed to be a problem. Gu Fei couldn't help but keep an eye on it. I am the Sector Lord of Flame World, the divine tree said arrogantly. Sector Lord? Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked when he heard that. This fellow was actually a world overlord. How was that possible? You are the worlds were born in Flame World? Gu Fei said with a serious expression. If a world's will was born, it was definitely not a good thing. Because then, if this world's will wanted to destroy the world, everyone would be finished. Could it be? Gu Fei thought of a possibility and couldn't help but sweat. You aren't too stupid. The divine tree's divine consciousness said. This world has gathered the power of the entire flame world. Gu Fei suddenly said. Haha, now you know. Here, I, the Sector Lord, is invincible. The divine tree laughed. Invincible? Are you joking? Gu Fei sneered. But he definitely wouldn't underestimate this guy. The power of the entire flame world. That was definitely an extremely powerful force. If he could obtain this power, he might be able to break the world wall of limitless realm. Chapter 54-51. Gu Fei had been plotted against by Sacred Master Su Tian, and his body and soul had almost been destroyed. To Gu Fei, this was a lesson learned. He had to be much more careful now. Even at his level of cultivation, he would still feel the threat of death. Not to mention Yan Huatian and Hongxing, who were half-stepped to the infinity realm. Immortality and immortality were relative. However, Gu Fei did not expect that the flame world had already given birth to a will of the heavens. Moreover, this will of the heavens had condensed the power of the entire flame world. This power was too strong. This was the full power of a super-large world. Once it exploded, it might really be able to break the boundary wall of the infinity realm. Sensing the terrifying power fluctuations in this small world deep underground, he could not help but be tempted. This might be his only chance to enter the infinity realm. Entering the limitless realm was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, leaving the limitless realm wasn't difficult at all. However, since ancient times, there weren't many living beings that left the limitless realm willingly. It should be known that the infinity realm was a world without birth, old age, sickness, and death. Here, even a blade of grass could live for a long time. Of course, even in the limitless realm, immortality was a relative concept. Wherever there were creatures, there would be fights. Once a fight broke out, injuries and deaths were inevitable. I am the invincible ruler here. A strand of divine will spread from the tree of God. There seemed to be only one creature in the entire small world, and that was the towering tree of God that stood in the center of this small world. Here, the tree of God's tentacles extended to every inch of the void. Is that so? Then show me what you are capable of, Gu Fei said calmly. Encountering such a powerful creature, he was naturally itching to challenge it. Swoosh! As soon as Gu Fei finished speaking, a vine immediately broke through the air and pierced through his forehead at an extremely fast speed. When Gu Fei wanted to dodge, he suddenly found that he could not move. He had actually been imprisoned by a powerful force. Roar! Gu Fei bellowed. A powerful wave of yuan qi erupted from his body. He wanted to break free from the energy that was imprisoning him. However, it was useless. He still couldn't move. The vine pierced through the space between his eyebrows. However, the tip of the vine exploded as if it had pierced a piece of immortal divine steel. What? The divine tree was taken aback. You dare say you're invincible in front of me? Are you kidding me? Gu Fei said disdainfully. Who are you? There is no one like you in the flame world. The realm lord of the flame world said angrily. Flame world isn't the only world in this world, Gu Fei said disapprovingly. Could it be that you came from that world? The flame realm divine tree suddenly exclaimed. Are you talking about the limitless realm? An idea flashed through Gu Fei's mind. You! The flame realm divine tree was shocked. That world was a supreme world. It couldn't even break through the world walls. It couldn't enter that world. The world intent of the flame world had gathered the power of the entire flame world to enter that world. However, the flame world divine tree was still here after the destruction of the flame world. What, you also want to enter the legendary supreme world where there is no life and death? Gu Fei said coolly. How do you know of the existence of the limitless realm? The flame realm divine tree said urgently. TCH, why don't I know? Do you know an old guy called Sacred Lord Void Sky? Gu Fei asked. Sacred Lord Void Sky? You've seen Sacred Lord Void Sky? The flame realm divine tree was shocked again. As expected, Gu Fei understood. Sacred Lord Void Sky had once discovered the flame world and seen the flame realm divine tree. He faintly guessed that the destruction of the flame world was related to Sacred Lord Void Sky. Where is that bastard? The flame realm divine tree suddenly became excited. What, were you tricked by him? Gu Fei was happy. It seemed that there was an enemy of Sacred Lord Void Sky here. If it wasn't for him, would I have been trapped here? The flame realm divine tree said angrily. So that's how it is. Gu Fei was even happier. Don't misunderstand. I also have a grudge with that Sacred Lord Void Sky. That old guy is truly despicable. Gu Fei sighed. You also have a grudge with that guy. The flame realm divine tree's anger subsided when it heard this. The powerful force that had restrained Gu Fei disappeared, and Gu Fei could move again. I was almost killed by that guy. Killing intent immediately exploded from Gu Fei's body when he thought about how badly he had been tricked by Sacred Lord Void Sky. Where is that bastard? The flame realm divine tree asked. The limitless realm. Gu Fei said through gritted teeth. What? The flame realm divine tree was stunned when it heard this. Since that guy had entered the limitless realm, they wouldn't be able to take revenge. The limitless realm. Who could break through the barrier of the limitless realm and enter it? The reason why the flame realm divine tree knew of the existence of the limitless realm was because of Sacred Lord Void Sky. Sacred Lord Void Sky had tricked the flame realm divine tree into breaking through the barrier with him, but the barrier of the limitless realm was just too strong. Even two infinite primes working together couldn't break through it. In the end, they even lost the entire flame world. Of course, at the best moment, the flame realm divine tree saw through Sacred Lord Void Sky's scheme and fought with that guy. In the end, it was forced to seal itself in the core of the flame world. After that, the entire flame world was destroyed. Looks like I won't be able to take revenge. The flame realm divine tree sighed. Who said that? Gu Fei said disapprovingly. Tisk, it's not that I'm looking down on you, but with your cultivation, you won't be able to move the barrier of the limitless realm at all. The flame realm divine tree snickered coldly. If we work together, we might have a chance, Gu Fei said with a solemn expression. How do we work together? The flame realm divine tree had been tricked by Sacred Lord Void Sky. At a time like this, it wouldn't believe Gu Fei so easily. Lend me your power, Gu Fei said directly. What did you say? Hearing this, the flame realm divine tree was both shocked and angry. This guy wanted to borrow its power? If this guy was someone like Sacred Lord Void Sky, then it would be dead. If it lent its power to this guy and this guy didn't return it, then it would be extremely easy for this guy to kill it. We can make a contract. We'll share life and death. How about it? Gu Fei could tell what this guy was worried about, but if he wanted to take revenge on Sacred Lord Void Sky, the flame realm divine tree was his only chance. Share life and death? You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.